Chapter 1580. Chime's two blue tail feathers fluttered in the air. They touched the lute's strings above its head. A symphony echoed. The golden musical notes transformed into birds and flew out from the lute's strings. They danced around Chime. It felt as though 100 birds were paying homage to the ancestor. Chime had obviously entered the final phase of its bloodline metamorphosis. As Genius' spiritual energy was being compressed, it was slowly forming a physical form. This materialized form was completely different from the arm that Genius had formed with its mental strength. Chime's spiritual energy arm was in a translucent state. At that moment, this spiritual energy compressed into a body. But it was a real solid state. All of a sudden, this condensed spiritual energy seemed to have increased by several times and was constantly expanding. Then, a meow echoed from within the spiritual energy. A spirit cat appeared at the original location of the spiritual energy. The size of this spirit cat was twice of Genius' previous size. Its tail was actually 20 to 30 meters long. The 8 tails were spreading wildly. The tails formed by spiritual energy seemed to be able to block all external damage. Lin Yuan held his breath and looked at the evolved Genius. At that moment, Genius' eyes slowly opened. Lin Yuan and a pair of white eyes looked at each other. This pair of white eyes looked very empty. But after a closer look, it was extremely intelligent. It seemed to be able to contain all the impurities in the world. The moment Genius opened its eyes, the 8 long tails behind it clustered around Lin Yuan. Genius' enlarged body walked to Lin Yuan's side. It let out a meow and leaped into Lin Yuan's embrace. Genius' body might be twice as big as before, but it was still very harmonious in Lin Yuan's embrace. Genius' previous body was only the size of Lin Yuan's palm. If Genius was said to be a kitten before, it was still very harmonious in Lin Yuan's embrace. If Genius was said to be a kitten before, the current Genius finally felt like a cat. Lin Yuan realized that Genius, which was in his embrace, didn't have any trace of weight. Genius clearly had a clear texture to the touch, and its fur felt exactly the same as before. Genius spoke to Lin Yuan with a childish voice. Lin Yuan, I made you worry. After this evolution, if Genius could remember 3 pieces of red braised pork before, Genius should be able to remember at least 30 pieces now. After hearing Genius' words, Lin Yuan thought to himself. Could it be that after this evolution, Genius' mental strength had increased by 10 times? The strength of Genius' mental strength was already very shocking. Genius was a diamond fantasy breed. It could resist the attacks of spiritual type phase below Myth 3. Now that his spiritual energy had increased by 10 times, wouldn't it mean that a creation breed spiritual type Fae would be able to attack? Smart also had a high chance of being immune to it. After a Fae became a myth breed, its spiritual energy growth would slow down. When a myth breed Fae became a creation breed, its spiritual energy would at most increase by 2 to 3 times. With Genius's current mental strength, he was able to defeat the enemies with his current mental strength. It was enough to be called the nemesis of spiritual Faes. At that moment, Genius spoke. Lin Yuan, Genius was previously afraid of the mental toxin. Now, Genius is not afraid anymore. Moreover, Genius's soul energy is much better now. Genius feels that if we use this mental energy to concoct the spiritual liquid, the speed would increase by at least 50%. Genius, condense your soul power. I keep having a strange feeling. It seems that by grasping this feeling, Genius will be able to enter another state when mixing the spiritual fluid. It's just that this feeling, no matter how Genius condenses its soul power, it feels very blurry. It seems like I need to comprehend something. While speaking, Genius didn't stop using its cheek to rub against Lin Yuan's cheek. Previously, Genius liked to be shy and very reserved. But this time, after experiencing life and death, Genius only wanted to stick close to Lin Yuan. Even if it was concocting the spirit fluid, it had to be by Lin Yuan's side. When Lin Yuan heard Genius' words, his heart stirred. He immediately revealed a delighted expression. Could Genius, whose bloodline had transformed again, have found the path to become a Class 5 creation master? The Moon Empress didn't tell Lin Yuan how a pinnacle Class 4 creation master could break through to become a Class 5 creation master. However, what Genius had just described was very similar to the feeling of a Class 4 creation master breaking through to a Class 5 creation master. Lin Yuan was planning to ask his master, the Moon Empress. Mystic Moon was a pinnacle Class 4 creation master. Lin Yuan knew that Fays also had the potential to become creation masters. However, it was much harder for a Fey to become a creation master than a spirit chi professional. Out of 10,000 individuals, there might only be one person with creation master talent. Out of 100,000 individuals with creation master talent, there might only be one Class 1 creation master. For a Fey to become a creation master, it was almost as difficult as having a Class 4 creation master among humans. Genius becoming a creation master was different from Mystic Moon becoming a creation master. Genius and Mystic Moon were both spiritual type Fays. Mystic Moon relied on her innate talent, while Genius relied on its species ability. This was also the reason why all 100 Questions beasts could become creation masters. From the Moon Empress, Lin Yuan understood the situation of a Class 4 creation master evolving into a Class 5 creation master. It would allow Lin Yuan to help Genius comprehend to the greatest extent. Just as Lin Yuan was preparing to check on Genius' exclusive skill, he wanted to see what species Genius had transformed from the Internet beast into. Chime's side had another anomaly. Chime suddenly drilled into the peeper that was formed by the golden musical notes. Then, Chime's body entered the peeper. 99 sun wheels turned into 99 suns. They converged at the peeper's neck towards the head. The final sun actually flew out of the peeper's head. Lin Yuan looked at the sun with astonishment. This sun was almost the same as the sun in the outside world. However, this sun was too weak. This sun was truly able to release sunlight. Could Chime's bloodline have evolved and created a sun in its body? The peeper's transformation didn't end with the appearance of this sun. The peeper's strings were automatically moving. Thousands of golden birds were circling around the peeper and dancing rhythmically. Chime had turned into a totem and was imprinted in the center of the peeper. At that moment, all the golden birds instantly rushed together in a frenzy. Finally, they used the musical notes to form the image of a golden woman. Lin Yuan looked at the image of the woman. He noticed that it was rather similar to the human form that Chime had transformed into after eating the divine movement body fruit. If Chime had transformed into a female servant previously, the woman that was formed by the golden musical notes was a princess. At that moment, the girl picked up the peeper and turned around. She looked at Lin Yuan and Genius with a radiant smile. However, golden tears were dripping down from the girl's eyes. When they landed on the ground, they turned into golden birds and smoke. They lingered around the girl. Chapter 1581. Smoke curled up as though it was a completely different world. It had an indescribable immortal aura. The golden bird was light and graceful, and it had the aura of a phoenix species Fae. The bird crashed into the golden woman's peeper. It would produce a sound like pearls falling on a plate. At that moment, Chime's tears seemed to be endless. Lin Yuan and Genius knew that the golden woman's image was formed by Chime's energy. It was formed by the energy in Chime's body. Crying was Chime's way of expressing its emotions. Chime's tears had caused Genius and Lin Yuan's heart to ache. At that moment, Chime spoke. Genius, why did you explode into a flower of blood? Chime's sobbing voice echoed gently. Its sobbing voice was mixed with rejoice and sorrow. It might be happy that Genius had completed its bloodline metamorphosis, but the scene of Genius exploding into a flower of blood was still flashing in its mind. The scene of Genius exploding into a flower of blood was still constantly flashing in Chime's mind. It was hard for Chime to recover from this. This scene was similar to Genius and Chime's bloodline metamorphosis in the Spirit Lock spatial zone a few months ago. Chime had metamorphosed into a clear sound bird, and Genius had metamorphosed into the Internet of Everything beast. However, it was the exact opposite back then. It was Chime that had exploded into a flower of blood. It was that time when Genius had personally witnessed Chime exploding into a flower of blood. It was only then that Genius got rid of his usual laziness and wanted to become stronger. Now, it was the opposite. It gave Chimey a feeling that it had to become stronger. Only then would it be able to protect Lin Yuan and Genius. At that moment, Chimey had matured a lot. It wasn't just the star-web sparrow voice lowly goddess anymore. It had transformed into a human form and had an offline meeting with its fans. It was no longer Chimey's ultimate goal. All of its ostentatiousness was in the face of its partner's life and death. It had turned into a firm belief. Chimey had to spread its wings and no longer hide behind Lin Yuan and Genius. Instead, it would try to shelter Lin Yuan and Genius. The golden woman hugged the peeper with her hands. Her human form had fused into the peeper. The sun on the peeper had also sunk into the peeper. The inside of the peeper had disintegrated into 99 suns. Then, a bird with a mix of blue and gold swayed its tail feathers behind it. It drilled out of the peeper and flew towards Lin Yuan and Genius. The phantom of the peeper also dissipated with the clouds after the bird flew out. Chimey landed in Lin Yuan's embrace and sat on its clever little head. Fortunately, Genius's mental power condensed body was sturdy enough. Otherwise, when Chimey's voice fell, it might even fall into Genius' body. Lin Yuan reached out to touch the feathers on Chimey's head and couldn't help but sigh. Enin's looks were really top-notch. Among all the avian fays that Lin Yuan had seen, there were no birds. No avian fae could compare to Chimey in terms of looks. Among the 10 most beautiful fays, the 5th-ranked fae was an avian fae. Her name was hibiscus brocade crane. The hibiscus brocade crane was a crane species fae that could mobilize multiple elements. Among the crane species fae's bloodline, it was ranked in the top 3. However, no matter how he ranked it, he couldn't compare to Grey, who had evolved into a favored spirit. Grey's bloodline could no longer be considered as a crane species fae's bloodline. Because in a sense, the favored spirit carried the will of heaven and earth and couldn't be considered an ordinary fae. As for the 5th-ranked most beautiful fae, the hibiscus brocade crane, it wasn't on the same level as Chimey's appearance. In Lin Yuan's opinion, there was no other fae that could compare to Chimey. It could only be the purple sky mythical butterfly, Purple Sky. In comparison, it had to be said. The male butterfly, Purple Sky, was superior. Chimey was bouncing around on Genius' head. It was checking on Genius' body and wanted to see if there were any hidden injuries after Genius evolution. The shy Genius used its kitten paws to cover its eyes. Chimey is too much. How can you keep looking at Genius' tail? Lin Yuan was preparing to use Morbius True Data to check on Genius and Chimey after their bloodlines had evolved. Lin Yuan first checked on Genius. Fae name, Exceptional Fate Knowing Beast, Fae Species, Illusion Cat Species, Fae Grade, Diamond, 10/10, Fae Type, Spiritual Soul, Fae Quality, Fantasy V abilities. Sad smiley memory inference. When memorizing something, it can accurately remember every detail and analyze. It will organize the data and information to deduce the truth. Cat swarm. If the host can control a feline fae and obtain its swarm, the host can obtain the elemental affinity and physique of the feline fays that swarm the host for a short period of time. Every time the feline fays are swarmed, they will be weakened for a period of time. Spiritual expansion. Use the host's spiritual energy as the contractor's spiritual energy reserve. Even though the contractor can't casually use the spiritual expansion to increase the spiritual energy reserve, when the host receives spiritual energy damage, the host can use the spiritual expansion's spiritual energy to resist. Lord of all cats, the new ruler of all feline fays. It has created the glory of feline fays and can use spiritual energy to form a contract with other feline fays. It can control the feline fays' life and death, and it can share the feline fays' spiritual energy. Spirit substitution. Through the interaction between different spiritual energy, the spiritual energy will undergo a change. It will consume the spiritual energy and transform it into soul spirit power. Spirit tail stimulation. When using soul spirit power, one tail can be consumed to double the original soul spirit power. At the same time, a portion of the body's spiritual energy can be condensed into a secondary tail as a backup. When there is no tail, the spirit tail stimulation will not be able to be used. Exclusive trait Sad Smiley Tool Transformation can turn into a tool for the contractor to use. Life-knowing tail. 1. Connected tail. According to the number of tails, life forms will be connected. The connected life forms will be able to share thoughts and be telepathic. 2. Sky connecting tail. Condense all the tails into one and think about the knowledge that one desires. By sacrificing one's spiritual energy, one can directly communicate with the world's willpower and seek answers from the world's willpower. Lin Yuan took a look. He realized that Genius's Fey name had changed from interconnected beast to sky-knowing fate beast. The Fey species had also changed from spirit cat wisdom cat. It had become illusion cat illusion cat. Even his skills and exclusive skills had undergone earth-shattering changes. To Lin Yuan's knowledge, the Fey world didn't have a illusion cat species. It was probably because of Genius's bloodline transformation, which gave rise to a new species. Genius's original normal ability was precise memory. Its elite ability was knowledge analysis. Right now, Genius normal and elite skills had obviously merged together. It had become the current normal ability, memory inference. Instant update of Beast Evolution Quotient. Please bookmark this site so that you can read it online the next time there's an update. Update: Do5's Endgame mobile version updates fastest. Happy Smiley. Chapter 1582. Lin Yuan looked at Genius's normal ability. It was a description of memory reasoning. Lin Yuan realized that memory reasoning was much more powerful than accurate memory and knowledge analysis. Previously, knowledge analysis was based on the minor details. It would make the most conjecture based on knowledge. Now, it was using data to organize information to deduce the truth. The truth represented absolute correctness. As long as Genius analyzed something, it would definitely be correct. Lin Yuan could already see it. Based on normal ability memory reasoning, Genius was able to organize large quantities of spirit fluid formulas. It could be said that Genius was the strongest information processor in the entire main world. Even the Star Web's information processing couldn't be compared to Genius. The Star Web's information processing couldn't guarantee that it was absolutely correct. As Genius normal and elite skills had been combined, Genius normal and elite skills had been combined. The elite ability's position was now empty. Genius's elite ability had become Cat Swarm. Genius's platinum ability, Smart Cat Spirit, had become Lord of all cats. Smart Cat Spirit allowed Genius to use its spiritual energy to form a contract with cat species phase. It could control the life and death of the cat species phase. It could also unilaterally share the cat species phase spiritual energy. Smart cat species phase were very rare. At present, only the 100 Questions beast was known to be common. Genius's control over the cat species phase had changed. It could control all the cat species phase. That was to say, as long as Genius thought about it. It could form a contract with all the cat species phase. Among all the phase, the cat species phase. It was a huge category. Furthermore, there were plenty of powerful feline phase. Genius's control over the cat species phase was based on its spiritual energy. Baidu, search the bloodline metamorphosis allowed Genius's spiritual energy to increase by 10 times. That was to say, as long as Genius thought about it. It could increase the 100 Questions Beast Legion's 100 Questions Beasts by 10 times. It could increase from over 100 Questions Beasts to over 1,000. Platinum ability, Smart Cat Lord, and elite ability, Cat Swarm. It was obvious that they complemented each other. When their effects complemented each other, it wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Cat Swarm allowed Genius to control cat species phase within a short period of time. It obtained its own elemental affinity and physique to control the cat species phase. If Genius had only contracted one cat species Fey with offensive capabilities, it would be a different story. Genius's strength might not increase by much. But what if Genius contracted hundreds or thousands of feline Feys that were adept at combat? These feline Feys had different elemental affinities. When facing different enemies, Genius could make targeted choices. He would pick the most suitable batch from the feline Feys he had. A feline Fey's elemental affinity and physique. To restrain the enemy. Everyone knew. The physique of feline phase was generally stronger than that of canines. Lin Yuan was flabbergasted as he looked at Genius Elite ability, Cat Swarm, and Platinum ability, Lord of all Cats. Now, Genius was no longer a helpless little kitten. The two skills were unleashed simultaneously. Genius would become a powerful cat war god on the battlefield. He felt that he should be in the swamp world. Build a cat garden for Genius. Get a batch of powerful and all-round feline phase for Genius. All the outstanding talents of the various departments would be given a few. He and the 100 Questions Beast Army would nurture them well. It was usually kept in the cat garden in the swamp world. When it was time to fight, he would let Genius use the feline phase elemental affinity and physique. Genius Gold ability, spiritual expansion, didn't have any changes. It was just that the spiritual energy it contained was 10 times stronger than before. As for the diamond ability, spirit tail burst, it was still the same. It could let Genius hoard secondary tails. Genius's ability was already shocking enough for Lin Yuan. Genius's exclusive skill, interconnection tail, made Lin Yuan feel that. Genius's bloodline was truly terrifying. Genius's original exclusive skill, interconnection tail, had become life-knowing tail. The original interconnection tail's function still existed. It had become a branch ability of the life-knowing tail exclusive skill. Apart from the interconnection tail, Genius's tail had another ability. It allowed Genius to combine all the tails together. It could connect to heaven and exhaust its spiritual energy. It could answer questions with heaven. It could use spiritual energy as a tuition fee. It could treat heaven as a teacher. As long as Genius could afford the tuition fee, heaven could teach Genius any knowledge. Such a function existed. Genius's diamond ability, spirit tail burst, could hoard secondary tails. It was very useful. When asking about some profound secrets, Genius could exhaust the secondary tail's spiritual energy. It could be treated as an additional tuition fee. There was no limit to the amount of secondary tails, and Genius could keep hoarding. Previously, Lin Yuan wanted to help Genius ask its master, the Moon Empress. How could a pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master break through to become a Class 5 Creation Master? From the looks of it, it was no longer necessary. As long as Genius used its exclusive skill, Life-Knowing Tail, the branch of the sky-connecting tail would ask Heaven. Heaven would give Genius the answer. At this moment, Lin Yuan finally knew. Why was Genius named the omnipotent knowing fate beast under true data? It could be said that as long as one had spiritual energy. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that Genius was omniscient and omnipotent. Right now, Genius was a combination of combat, defense, and support. Among all of Lin Yuan's phase, apart from Morbius, Genius was definitely the strongest combat power in Lin Yuan's hands. After sensing Lin Yuan's thoughts, Morbius said softly, "Partner, Genius's bloodline has reached the limit of a life form. Genius's bloodline has reached the limit of a life form. Although, it's not impossible for Tsongming's bloodline to evolve again. But if it takes the next step, it won't be Genius's bloodline that will change. It will be Genius's life providence." This was the first time Lin Yuan had heard of life providence. Just as Lin Yuan was thinking about what a life providence was, only Morbius continued. "Speaking of the strongest, partner, Genius isn't the strongest Fae you have apart from me. Although Chimus abilities are not as good as Smart in terms of functionality, it's still very powerful. But in terms of attack and control, Chimey is much stronger than Genius. After all, Chimey really created a sun. A sun that can emit light and heat, yet it belongs to Chimey alone. If this sun is strong enough, it can even rise into the sky and become a celestial body." Upon hearing Morbius' words, Lin Yuan was shocked. He looked at one of Genius's tails in disbelief. It was Chimey on a swing. Chimey was currently playing on the swing. While admiring his tail feathers, he felt very satisfied. He immediately used Morbius True Data to check on Chimey. Instant update of familiar evolution quotient. Please bookmark this site so that you can read it online the next time there's an update. The mobile version of Do 5 has been updated the fastest. Chapter 1583. After probing, Lin Yuan finally knew. Why did Morbius say that? Not to mention being smart, it could not compare to Chimey in terms of combat. Lin Yuan felt that it was his Desolation bloodline Fey, Golden Wing. It could be upgraded to Diamond X Fantasy V. It might not be comparable to Chimey. Fey name, Phoenix New Sun Sparrow, Fey species, Sound Sparrow, Fey grade, Diamond, 10/10, Fey type, Sound light, Fey quality, Fantasy V abilities Sad Smiley Phoenix Cry sound, dominates the Phoenix's power. Fuse the Phoenix Cry into the musical notes to form a graceful bird. The bird-shaped musical notes have a huge penetrating effect. After touching the target, the musical notes will emit a Phoenix Cry to deter and interfere with the target. After the musical notes in the bird are attacked or blocked, they will split into a new bird. Light of the New Sun, the inherited bloodline dominates the main Phoenix species Phase bloodline. The extreme main Phoenix's blood and light will condense into a new sun. Under the new sun's illumination, the Fae and its abilities will be quickly charged by sunlight. When the new sun's radiance is exhausted, it can be replenished with Phoenix blood and Phoenix soul. Phoenix seed sound, through refining a Phoenix species Phase soul into a Phoenix seed and injecting it into the bird formed by the musical notes, this bird will inherit the Phoenix species Phase intelligence and part of its abilities. Burning the Phoenix seed will increase the musical note strength of the bird. Falling new sun, the condensed sun in the body will fall into the ground and form a domain filled with the sun's power. Before the energy in the sun domain is exhausted, the Fae will temporarily enter a state of immunity to most physical and elemental damage. Spiritual songstress fuses the soul into the song. By consuming the Phoenix seed, the song will be given the ability to materialize into reality. The will or effects in the song can be used as an enhancement or weakening ability. The enhancement effect on allies will be treated as a blessing, while the weakening effect on enemies will be treated as a curse. Clear harp sound, anchor an object that can release light-type energy. When controlling this object or being accepted by this object, the sound or sound-type energy can be projected onto this object. With this object as a base, the sound will spread in all directions. Exclusive characteristic Sad Smiley Dual Sun Fetters, the stronger the sun you control, the stronger your ability to communicate with other suns. Based on the degree of fetters, when singing to the sun, you can borrow energy from other suns to replenish the energy consumed in your own sun. New sun body, fuse the sun you have with your body and enter the state of the Sanskrit bird. Without changing the effects of your skills, you can swap attributes. After seeing true data, Chimey's abilities were displayed. Lin Yuan felt that even his soul was trembling. Oh my god! Is this an ability that Fays should have? Lin Yuan had seen the Mother of Bloodbath and Grey's true data. The Mother of Bloodbath and Grey were both heavenly spirits. However, Lin Yuan felt that the Mother of Bloodbath's and Grey's abilities and exclusive skills were more valuable. It simply couldn't be compared to Chimey's abilities and exclusive skills. He felt that Chimey's abilities and exclusive skills were of a higher dimension than the favored spirit. Heavenly spirits were creatures loved by the origin world, able to communicate with a certain natural phenomenon or celestial body in the origin world. However, the premise for a favored spirit to be powerful was that it was attached to something that originally existed in the origin world. However, Chimey had used its bloodline to create a sun. This was undoubtedly a kind of transcendence. Chimey was the same as genius. Chimey used to be a plume bird. Now, it had become a sound sparrow. Chimey's sound sparrow was the same as genius's illusion cat. They were both species that didn't exist in the origin world. Chimey and genius had also opened up a path that no living creature had taken before. Speaking of abilities and exclusive skills, Chimey's abilities and exclusive skills had changed. However, they were much bigger than genius. First, Chimey's normal ability, Broken Jade Sound, had become the current Phoenix Cry. Broken Jade Sound was to shoot a ball of sound at the target. It was a huge note with the sound of beautiful jade shattering. The sound of jade shattering had a certain degree of interference. After hitting the target, it would shatter into 10 spiral-shaped sound thorns. It had an extremely powerful penetrating ability. Now, Phoenix cry allowed Chimey to fuse the phoenix cry into the note. It caused the note to turn into a fluttering bird. The bird would hit the target and emit the phoenix cry. While the original interference effect was present, it had an additional deterrence effect. After the flying bird note was attacked, it would also split like broken jade sound. It seemed like these two abilities weren't much different. However, the normal phoenix cry meant that Chimey dominated the phoenix's power. It seemed like Chimey had used its bloodline to devour the bloodline of those main phoenix species phase. It didn't disappear. Instead, it had become a tool for Chimey. It had evolved into Chimey's ability attack. Chimey's original elite ability was light bathing. Light bathing's effect was to recover one's consumed vitality. It was a kind of self-recovery ability. Now, Chimey's ability, Light of the New Sun, allowed Chimey to dominate the main phoenix species phase bloodline. It transformed this bloodline into a new sun. After the new sun rose, it was equivalent to a long-range attack. It imposed a supply station on Chimey. The light emitted by the new sun could quickly replenish Chimey's consumption. At the same time, it had phoenix cry and split flying bird note. It could also be recharged by the sunlight and become endlessly multiplying. Furthermore, this sun's energy was greatly consumed. Chimey could use the phoenix blood and phoenix soul to replenish it. It could replenish the sun formed by light of the new sun. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan understood Chimey's elite ability, Light of the New Sun. It was the fundamental reason why Chimey could create a sun on its own. The main components of this sun were the main phoenix species bloodlines that Chimey had devoured. Lin Yuan thought to himself, how much does Chimey hate phoenix species phase? He wanted to develop Light of the New Sun. He wanted to make this new sun stronger and stronger. Only God knew how much phoenix blood and soul would be used as consumables to nourish it. Lin Yuan had previously provided dragon livers for the Golden Wing. He had specially set up a faction with Long Dao that sold dragon species phase and spiritual ingredients. He wanted to raise a large number of phase with the main dragon species bloodline. Now, Lin Yuan felt that he needed to contact Li Xian. He wanted to set up another faction that raised phoenix species phase. In the future, apart from the Golden Wing, which needed the blood of dragon species phase, Chimey also needed the blood and soul of ordinary phoenix species phase. Chimey's silver ability, Phoenix Seed Voice Transmission, was similar to Light of the New Sun. It also needed the soul of a phoenix species fae to refine the soul into a phoenix seed. When the phoenix seed fused into Phoenix Cry, it would strengthen the golden bird that Phoenix Cry had transformed into. It would also obtain the Phoenix Phase intelligence and part of its abilities. Chapter 1584. This made Phoenix Mingines attack the same as turning into a Phoenix species Fae. By burning the Phoenix Seed, it could also enhance the power of this attack. Lin Yuan was willing to build a Fae breeding base for Chimey to nurture Phoenix species Faes. In the future, Chimey could have as many Phoenix species Fae souls as it wanted. Chimey could refine a large number of Phoenix Seeds to enhance its combat ability. Chimey's gold ability, Sunlight Ray, had now become Falling New Sunday. Sunlight Ray was an extremely simple support ability that had a large range. It could weaken targets within the range. It could enhance the activity of plant phase within the range. Now, Falling New Sun had strengthened the amplification on its side. Chimey's original platinum ability, Nirvana Sound, had also been integrated into it. It made the sun fall and formed the sun domain. Within the domain, Chimey was immune to most physical and elemental damage. This allowed Chimey to do whatever it wanted on the battlefield, dealing damage to its opponent's face. The current platinum ability, Spirit Songstress. It was Chimey's newly awakened ability through the Sound Sparrow bloodline. It still used the method of consuming the soul seed to materialize the image in the song in reality. At the same time, it could use the will and effect in the song. Most of the songs that Chimey could sing now were ancient songs. However, Lin Yuan knew a lot of special songs. It was like the lyrics of Bloody Love Story that Lin Yuan had heard in his previous life. The more blood flows, the more sore hands, the emptier the heart, the more painful the flesh, the more vivid the feeling of being cut by 1,000 blades. The lyrics were sung by Chimey. The enemy would immediately feel the sore hands, bleeding, and weakness. The heart would lose faith and the pain of being cut by 1,000 blades. Such negative effects would be applied to the enemy. It wasn't as simple as the negative effects. It would be judged as a curse. Many purification-type abilities could remove the negative effects. However, to remove the curse, only certain phase and specific abilities could do it. Without such phase, Chimey could sing all kinds of cursed songs to torture the enemy. There were also many buff-type songs. The buff-type effects of these songs would be defined as blessings. The effects of blessings and curses were the same. They were very difficult to be purified by the purification ability. Just the spiritual songstress skill allowed Chimey to have unlimited possibilities. Chimey's diamond harp sound transformation didn't change at all. It was still the same as before. Previously, Chimey's first exclusive skill, Clear Sky, was birdsong. He let the clouds disperse and summoned the sun. But now, Chimey could produce a sun by itself. Therefore, the exclusive skill Clear Sky had become the current twin sun fetters. Chimey could communicate with the other suns through the new sun it gave birth to. They could even sing to the sun and borrow energy from it. Apart from the main world, every dimensional world had a sun. Chimey's exclusive skill, twin sun fetters, could be used in any world. Furthermore, the sun that Chimey controlled was stronger. In that case, the ability to communicate with other suns would also become stronger. In other words, it was through the exclusive skill, twin sun fetters. Even without the help of the mother of Bloodbath and Shwe-Shur, Chimey only relied on itself through the sun that was born in its body. He could communicate with the sun of the origin world. It was also very easy for him to use the diamond level skill, Melodious Harp. He treated the sun of the origin world as an anchor. The more he looked at the exclusive skill, twin sun fetters, the more he liked Chimey's combat style. It was no different from a heavenly chosen spirit. However, Chimey did not directly communicate with the sun. Instead, it used the sun in its body. When Chimey had become a fantasy breed, it had obtained the Radiant Body exclusive skill. Now, the Radiant Body exclusive skill had become the new sun body. The new sun body's introduction was very simple. It was a combination of Chimey and the sun that it produced. It would enter a state where it was not the Sanskrit sound sparrow. Lin Yuan was slightly stunned when he saw the name Sanskrit sound sparrow. Lin Yuan immediately asked Chimey to use its exclusive skill, new sun body. Upon receiving Lin Yuan's instruction, Chimey, which was swinging on Genius' tail, flapped its wings. Its tail feathers swayed. 99 sun wheels fused together from Chimey's tail feathers. A new sun was placed on Chimey's head. Immediately after, Chimey moved toward the new sun. When the new sun entered its body ignited with a dazzling orange-red flame. Chimey's body suddenly turned into a bird with a wingspan of 30 meters. Along with Chimey's clear cry, the golden bird that was supposed to be born. At that moment, it had turned orange-red. It was burning with the same orange-red flame that was on Chimey's body. Lin Yuan understood that True Data's ability description didn't change the original ability effect. What did it mean by only changing its own attributes? Chimey entered a state where it was not the Sanskrit sound sparrow. The original Phoenix New Sun Sparrow's light and sound attributes had turned into the current fire and sound attributes. All of its abilities had also changed from the original light attribute to the fire attribute. It was considered an increase in attack ability. However, it correspondingly reduced its flexibility and range of abilities. In a battle, depending on the size of the battlefield, the choice of how to change the state could be decided according to the actual situation. When facing water-type phase, the Phoenix New Sun Sparrow wouldn't be restrained by the attribute. When facing plant-type phase, the Sanskrit sound sparrow could carry out the most effective attack. Lin Yuan looked at Chimey, which had stopped in front of him and turned into a giant firebird. Lin Yuan said softly, "Chimey, change back." Originally, Lin Yuan would rarely use Genius and Chimey in a battle. However, during the Radiance 100 sequence selection, He was facing the Freedom Federation's envoy group's conspiracy. However, the Radiant's 100 sequence selection this time had to face the conspiracy of the Freedom Federation's envoys. Lin Yuan could let Genius and Chimey reveal themselves. Lin Yuan had never revealed Chimey and Genius before. At any time, Genius, which had evolved into a sky-knowing destiny beast, and Chimey, which had evolved into a phoenix new sun sparrow. They were both Lin Yuan's absolute trump cards. Lin Yuan's Fey enhancement had come to an end. Unless Lin Yuan became an A-rank spirit chi professional. Otherwise, the Fey's strength wouldn't be able to have a significant increase. However, Lin Yuan had now reached the pinnacle of the Radiant sect's younger generation. 5 Diamond X Fantasy V Phase. They were even higher than the rest of the younger generation. However, Zhongzi, Jiyu Lang, and he, and the others had been improving. Zhongzi, Jiyu Lang, and he, and the others' bloodline of Desolation Phase. They had all grown up. Lin Yuan's bloodline of Desolation Fey, Golden Wing, wanted to grow up. It still needed at least 1 year. Next, Lin Yuan just had to wait for the Radiant's 100 sequence to officially begin. At this moment, somewhere in the main world, a pair of vicissitudes of life suddenly opened on the main seat of the hall. Behind this pair of vicissitudes of life, there was a totem that looked like a copper ring. Chapter 1585. Coincidentally, the clock was in the hall. It resounded loudly. One after another, the bell rang, shaking every corner of the hall. After the bell rang, it was followed by the ticking of the hour hand. The person on the main seat stood up, turned around, and looked at the copper totem behind him. He respectfully knelt on the ground. Then, he solemnly kowtowed 3 times. After a total of 3 times, the figure who knelt 3 times and kowtowed 9 times stood up and murmured, "Another era has begun. Totem God, you haven't appeared for almost 3,000 years." As he spoke, the figure slowly raised his head. On the copper totem, there was a pair of pure and wise eyes. Looking at the pure and wise eyes, the figure hurriedly lowered his head. As if he had committed a taboo. He knelt on the ground and performed the 3 kowtows and 9 kowtows. At this time, someone knocked on the dusty door. The figure returned to the main seat. With a wave of his hand, the door was opened from the inside. A man wearing black crystal armor walked in. Seeing the figure on the main seat, the man quickly knelt on one knee. He spoke. "Lord Temple Attendant, the balance of nature has once again tilted towards the east. This time, the tilt of the balance of nature broke the heartstrings that connected number 6 to the balance of nature. Number 6 spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and fainted. He is currently being treated by number 4. Lord Temple Attendant, something that shouldn't exist in this world has appeared in the east. According to number 6 senses, this balance has tilted in just half a year. It has tilted nearly 10 times. As he spoke, the man in black crystal armor. He could clearly feel the pressure around the figure on the main seat becoming lower. A sense of killing intent came. The figure on the main seat didn't pay attention to the man in black crystal armor. Instead, after thinking for a while, he spoke. "Go to the other 3 epoch sacred halls and wake up the 3 attendants. The era secret assembly will begin in 15 minutes. Hearing the figure on the main seat, the man in black crystal armor's face suddenly blossomed with a devout and joyful light. "Lord, since the last time our era temple," before the man in black crystal armor could finish his sentence, he was grabbed by a root-like shadow. She slapped him hard on the mouth. The shadow of the root caused the man in black crystal armor to stumble. The moment he was slapped, the man in black crystal armor knew what was going on. He had committed a huge taboo. At that moment, the figure sitting on the main seat of the hall said in a cold voice, "Number 2, you're overstepping your boundaries. You actually dare to bring up Lord Sage? Every year, we 4 palace attendants only have 1 chance to mention Lord Sage. If Xia and Dong knew about this, don't even think about talking about Lord Saint. Then, your current life providence has already been crushed. Remember your identity. You are but a lowly servant of the Epoch Shrine's totem god. Have you forgotten the rules after being in charge of the second totem pole for so many years? The man in the black crystal armor was the number 2 that the figure on the main seat had mentioned. At this moment, he had already conjured his life providence. He placed his fate chart on the ground. His forehead devoutly kowtowed on the life providence. It was as if he was repenting for almost saying the word sage on the tip of his tongue. After kowtowing 3 times and 9 times, his life providence was already stained with blood. The man in black armor stood up and bowed to the figure on the main seat. Then, he walked towards the 3 shrines with tightly shut doors not far away. Outside each of the main halls, there were a large number of clocks. These clocks were ticking and spinning. They were measuring different time scales. As the needle spun, it was as if one could be immersed in it. From a baby to a skeleton, it was just a thought. After a quarter of an hour, on the huge round stone table on the altar in the center of the 4 shrines, a bonfire was lit. On the stone table, there were dense and complicated lines engraved. These lines, if one touched any one of them, the lines would evolve into densely packed totems. 4 figures shrouded in mist, sitting at the 4 corners of the stone table. The other 36 figures were in groups of 9. They knelt on the ground beside the stone table. Among them was the man in black crystal armor who had just gone to report. Among them, a shadow filled with dense life force in the mist said, "Chio, the 4 of us record the epoch separately. When the epoch bell outside your hall is rung, it should mean that winter has started to count. You have disturbed the long sleep of the 3 of us for 3 epochs. What do you want?" The figure who was sitting on the main seat of the palace replied, "Spring, I have recorded the time of the epoch correctly. However, something has happened in the east of this world. Many things that should not belong to this world have appeared in this world. We must eliminate these disharmonious existences from the world." In the mist, the figure with a bone-piercing chill said coldly, "Chio, you can make arrangements for this kind of thing. 2,000 years ago, when this epoch began, the Shia epoch has been counted. You have taken over the mission of ruling the epoch. I should have woken up. But now you have disturbed spring. 2,000 years later, if the totem god has not woken up and the sage has not descended, how do you expect spring to not sleep and rest for another 2,000 years? The figure on the main seat just now said in a serious tone. 3,000 years ago, the tower cannon's crimson page, aureole candle page, and purplish page struck the epoch bell once. This strike caused the epoch bell's time to distort. Just now, I felt the undulations of the totem god's totem. After saying that, the figure who was sitting on the main seat of the main hall did not say anything else. Hearing this, the other 3 figures sitting at the stone table trembled with excitement. Their faces were filled with reverence and sincerity. Spring, who had always been the most steady, looked up at the people kneeling on the ground and ordered. Chun, who had always been the steadiest, looked up at the people kneeling on the ground and instructed. Immediately head to the east and investigate the situation. Immediately head to the east and investigate the situation. Lin Yuan had a rare moment of leisure these few days. Lin Yuan's sacred source lifeform, the sacred sword-wielding queen. Although there were no signs of it rising in stars. But now, as he absorbed the world crystal, Lin Yuan had a few new sword skills. Every one of these sword skills was Lin Yuan's trump card. Lin Yuan, who had just finished his lunch, was holding a few music scores. He was teaching Chimey how to sing. To Chimey, this was the happiest thing every day. Nothing was better than learning songs from Lin Yuan. Chimey, whose dream had changed, was no longer addicted to live streaming. It had been 4 days since Chimey's bloodline metamorphosis. It had not been streamed on the star web, not even once. Chapter 1586. This made the fans who waited in Enin's live streaming room on time every day anxious. When Lin Yuan taught Chimey these songs, Chimey's eyes lit up. Suddenly, he felt that he was a little mean. These lyrics were sung by Chimey and materialized through its spiritual songstress skill. The enemy will be subjected to many cruel curses and inhuman tortures. However, Lin Yuan understood one thing. That is, to be lenient to the enemy is to be cruel to oneself. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not have the slightest psychological burden. As for genius, it had been executing its exclusive skill, sky-piercing tail. Genius' 8 tails fused together and pierced the sky. Genius did not immediately ask the heavens what was going on. Only then would he be able to walk on the path of a Class 5 creation master. He was smart but not stupid. He knew that he wanted an answer from the heavens. He had to pay a huge amount of spiritual energy. And now, Genius' mental strength had yet to be replenished. Even with the rainbow-colored fish robe, it wanted to eat 5,000 fish coats and condense a secondary tail. It would take at least a week. Before condensing the 5 secondary tails, Genius did not intend to ask heaven this question. Otherwise, if they didn't have enough spiritual energy, they wouldn't be able to use it. It needed to consume its original tail. Then his abilities would decrease. Genius knew very well that the Radiance 100 sequence selection was about to begin. Genius, who had never been able to fight for Lin Yuan, was now fighting with all its might. He wanted to showcase his skills during the Radiance 100 sequence selection. Lin Yuan had been in contact with Li Xian for the past few days. He stated his intention to establish a breeding base for phoenix species phase. Li Xian was just like Long Dao at that time. He immediately agreed. Lin Yuan had given the Coiling Dragon Valley an opportunity. This would allow the Coiled Dragon Valley to have the opportunity to become one of the top 3 factions in the Radiance sect. Long Dao was grateful to Lin Yuan. However, Li Xian's gratitude toward Lin Yuan was no less than Long Dao's. It could be said that Lin Yuan had established Li Xian, Li Yun, and Neo Ji's position as the young family head. This allowed Li Yun Neo Khan to have the Golden Lotus Brocade plant, allowing him to develop quickly. Li Xian had been thinking about how to repay Lin Yuan. Li Xian felt that his chance had come. In the entire Radiance Federation, there wasn't a faction that specialized in selling phoenix species phase and spiritual ingredients. Li Xian had the same idea as Long Dao back then. Once this force was established, it would immediately receive an unprecedented response from the market. The spiritual ingredients produced by phoenix species phase were as rare as those produced by dragon species phase. Even if you have money, if you don't have the connections, don't even think about buying it. Lin Yuan needed phoenix blood and phoenix soul. Furthermore, the chosen phoenix phase ability had to be suitable for Chimey. In the end, under Li Xian's recommendation, he chose the illusory sound Luan phoenix, a kind of phoenix species fey that the Dawn Cloud birdcage had specially nurtured. The illusory sound Luan phoenix was a rare sound-type phoenix species fey. His ability was to release a sound that would cause people to fall into deep hallucinations. This kind of ability was not considered outstanding in battle. It could only play a supporting role. Therefore, the illusory sound Luan Feng had never been taken seriously by Li Yun Niokeng. However, compared to Chimey's ability, the illusory sound Luan Feng was much more powerful. But it was very compatible. The illusory sound Luan Feng's soul was refined into a phoenix seed and integrated into Chimey's phoenix cry. It could strengthen phoenix cry's control. Of course, Chimey could not only refine the soul of one type of phoenix species fey as its phoenix seed. Afterward, he could also choose more phoenix species phase phoenix seeds to supplement them. But at present, the illusory sound Luan phoenix was a type of phoenix species fey. It was enough for Chimey to use. Apart from preparing a phoenix seed for Chimey, Zhongxian's eyes lit up. Lin Yuan still had to build a cat garden in the swamp world for Genius. The cat garden's choice of feline phase was not so particular. As long as it was a feline fey with a stronger talent, it would be within Lin Yuan's choice. Lin Yuan called Listen. The Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce was now comparable to a top faction. Listen had set the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's function on luxury resources. However, the entire Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had not abandoned its original business model. On the original foundation, it used the Chamber of Commerce's business model to expand. It harvested a lot of online and offline resources. After knowing that Lin Yuan was looking for feline phase, Listen, the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce's president, personally supervised. In just 2 days, Lin Yuan had collected 500 exceptionally outstanding feline phase. However, these feline phase were all below bronze grade. This was also Lin Yuan's special request. Only by nurturing fays from a young age could Lin Yuan guarantee their strength and potential. The better the foundation of these feline fays, the stronger their potential. When genius obtained these feline fays' physique and elemental affinity through its cat swarm ability, it would be able to become stronger. Only then would it be able to become stronger. Lin Yuan finished teaching Chimey how to sing. He was originally going to enhance these feline fays. In the end, Lin Yuan's phone rang. He picked up the phone and found that it was Listen. After picking up the phone, Lin Yuan heard Listen's tongue-tied voice on the other end. "Why, young master, you said that someone would use the strange water to trade Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls in the guild. This person is here, and the trade is over. It's just that this person won't leave and insists on seeing you. Young master, this person seems to be the Azure Federation's Azure envoy. What should we do?" Yin Lin was currently in the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. She was abnormally nervous and expectant. Just like when Yin Lin was looking forward to being able to see this world clearly. However, the more she looked forward to it, the more apprehensive Yin Lin felt. Yin Lin imagined the person in the starry sky with thousands of laws and willpower entwined around him. What would it be like in reality? However, Yin Lin still had a sense of propriety. No matter how anxious she was, she did not immediately go to the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce after arriving at the Radiance Federation. Instead, she secretly ran out alone after visiting the Radiance Federation's lord in the Azure Federation. Upon hearing Listen's words, Lin Yuan spoke. "Tell her about this. Let her wait for me there. I'll be there in a while." Lin Yuan had already made an agreement with Yin Lin in the Celestial Council. The source-type cocoon demon embryo that Yin Lin had mentioned. Lin Yuan had been thinking about the source-type cocoon demon embryo. To others, it was a disaster and regarded as an ominous thing. But for Liu Jie, the cocoon demon embryo was definitely something that could change his fate. With the source-type cocoon demon embryo, Liu Jie's Fey combination no longer had any shortcomings. This time, Lin Yuan did not intend to use colorless paper ability to meet Yin Lin. He planned to meet Yin Lin openly as the Radiance Federation's Lord's disciple. The Freedom Federation's envoys would look for the Azure Federation's envoys to cooperate. The Radiance Federation's side could naturally look for the Azure Federation's envoys to cooperate. During this Radiance 100 sequence selection, the Freedom Federation's envoys would either not cause trouble. Otherwise, Lin Yuan would kill them without mercy. Chapter 1587. Lin Yuan's Fey Carriage. Hu Quan had finished forging it a long time ago. However, there had never been a suitable Fey to pull the carriage. Only then would it work. It was a Fey carriage made of completely jade-textured wood. He had never been able to put it to use. The Moon Empress gave Lin Yuan 12 Heaven Fragrance Beauty Butterflies. When Lin Yuan saw the Imperial Armored Martial God insect, a strange insect, his eyes lit up. He decided to use the Royal Armored Martial God insects to pull the Fey carriage. Previously, at the Pinnacle Class 4-dimensional rift in the Coiling Dragon Valley, Lin Yuan had captured the Royal Armored Martial God insect. One of them was a mutated Royal Armored Martial God insect. Black steel wings appeared on his back. This time, he went to see Yin Lin as His Holiness Hui Yaro's disciple. Although he didn't need to wear the moonlight royal robe that his master, the Moon Empress, had replicated for him, he didn't need to wear it. However, the grandeur that should be said still had to be said. Lin Yuan exited the Diamond Fey storage box. He took out the Fey carriage that he had previously forged. Then, he released the Royal Martial God insect in another Diamond Fey storage box. The Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterfly was controlling the Royal Armored Martial God insects. The Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterfly had already given the order to the Royal Armored Martial God insects. The Royal Armored Martial God insects listened to Lin Yuan's orders. He wanted these Royal Martial God insects that were like Gundams to be truly obedient. It could steadily pull a Fey carriage in the sky. Lin Yuan still had to release the Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterflies. Otherwise, they would be separated by a layer of space. The Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterfly's control over the Royal Armored Martial God insects would weaken. This mutated Imperial Armored Martial God insect clearly had a higher intelligence than the other Imperial Armored Martial God insects. However, the higher the intelligence, the harder it was to control. The Heaven Fragrance Beauty Butterfly was only a diamond Fae. It was still a little difficult for him to control the Emperor Armored Martial God insect, which was comparable to a Myth 3 Fae. However, the Mindfulness Whale was here. It could help these Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterflies advance to Myth breed as soon as possible. At that time, he could even let the Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterfly. It could control an alien insect that was comparable to a creation breed Fae. To pull the Fae carriage. In any case, the Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterfly had switched targets. It was as simple as drinking water. Since this one was eliminated, they could just replace the next one. 12 Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterflies landed on the forehead of the Royal Armored Martial God insect. The 12 Monarch Armored Martial God insects were under the control of the Heavenly Fragrance Beauty Butterfly. He took the initiative to put the lock of the Fae carriage on the inner armor on his back. Immediately after, the Fae carriage pulled by the 12 Steel Angels also appeared. He arrived directly above the return from faraway manor. 4 pairs of huge black wings instantly condensed behind him. As his wings flapped, he flashed. He entered the Fae carriage. At the same time, a small red spider appeared. It also followed behind Lin Yuan and entered the Fae carriage. This little spider did not take human form. Instead, he jumped onto Lin Yuan's shoulder and said, "Let's go. Little Yuan, when you go out in the future, I will follow you. That way, when I encounter danger, I can also act in time." This crimson red spider was in its original form. At the same time, he carried out a mimicry of blood. Xue Shuo had sworn on the sun to become Lin Yuan's protector. He was now fulfilling his duty as a guardian. Actually, even if he was a guardian, there was also no need to guard Lin Yuan so closely. However, Lin Yuan's significance to Blood Shuo, it was simply too important. In addition, it was a troubled time, and Xue Shuo was not at ease to let Lin Yuan go out alone. Apart from the Freedom Federation's envoy who had reached the Radiance, there were likely people in the Tower Cannon's 8 pages. They had already infiltrated the Radiance. Whether it was the Tower Cannon or the Freedom Federation, they were all enemies with the Radiance. Lin Yuan had traveled with such a large force. He was likely to be targeted by the Tower Cannon and the Freedom Federation. If these two parties were shameless and carried out assassinations, if he followed Lin Yuan, he could also help Lin Yuan resist. Xue Shuo was very afraid that Lin Yuan would be in danger. Because now, Lin Yuan was related to whether the Jade Gui could be resurrected. Xue Shuo had never dared to hope that the Jade Gui could return to his side again. But now, Lin Yuan had given him a chance and hope. No matter what, Xue Shuo did not want to give up this opportunity. Flying Fays or Fey carriages were allowed in the royal capital's sky. However, the grade of the flying Fays was higher than gold. They needed to be specially registered. Fey carriages only needed to be pulled by gold and above Fays. Like flying Fays, they needed to be specially registered. Under normal circumstances, it was rare to use a platinum Fey to pull a Fey carriage. The price of a platinum Fey was already extremely expensive. Nurturing it required a lot of resources. If a platinum Fey was used to pull a Fey carriage, at least 3 would be needed at a time. This was not the same concept as riding a platinum Fey. Therefore, those who rode Fey carriages were generally members of factions. However, even if they were members of the top factions, diamond Feys were already the limit for those pulling Fey carriages. Most of them were still using platinum Feys. Therefore, Lin Yuan's Fey carriage was traveling in the royal capital's sky. It was simply too dazzling. The 12 Steel Angels formed a triangular formation. 4 in a group. In the blue sky, they flapped their wings and flew. Everyone who saw this scene was shocked. Right now, it was the day when the Azure Federation's and Freedom Federation's envoys arrived at the Radiance Federation. The entire Radiance Federation's royal capital was under martial law. The spirit guards were scattered all over the royal capital. In the Radiance Federation, there was a department that specialized in managing Fey carriages and flying Feys. It was called the Transportation Bureau. This department had a large number of transportation bureau. They were in charge of managing daily trips and registering the fays pulling the fay carriages. At this moment, there were already transportation bureau on duty. They saw the steel angels soaring in the sky, and the fay carriages behind these steel angels. Most of the transportation bureau were spirit chi professionals who had contracted gold fays. This level of strength was enough to manage transportation. However, these steel angels in the sky were simply too tall and shocking. Although these transportation bureau did not know what these steel angels were, they could feel that these steel angels were extraordinary. However, he was able to sense how extraordinary those steel angels were. Each and every one of them had probably surpassed the limits of diamond. Even so, the Transportation Bureau's standard fay, the Airstream Falcon. They still summoned the Transportation Bureau's standard fay, the Airstream Falcon. They jumped onto the Airstream Falcon's back. They flew toward this fay carriage. The heavenly fragrance beauty butterfly could not only control alien insects. It could also use its spiritual energy to simulate the scene outside. It was now inside the fay carriage. When Lin Yuan saw the Transportation Bureau's people coming over, he immediately stopped the fay carriage. The Transportation Bureau's people came to the entrance of the fay carriage and observed these imperial armored martial god insects at close range. They thought to themselves, if these steel angels were not restraining their auras, their Airstream Falcon was probably scared out of its wits. It fell from the sky. Chapter 1588. However, even though these steel envoys were doing their best to retract their auras, they were still unable to move. But the air current Falcon was still trembling. Even the traffic guard standing on the back of the Airstream Falcon was unable to stand steadily. Cheng Jiawei coughed lightly and said in a deep voice, "Has this fay vehicle been registered at the Transportation Bureau? Who's sitting in the car?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan opened the fay carriage's door. The moment the traffic guard saw Lin Yuan, he immediately exclaimed, "Yuan." The traffic guard recognized Lin Yuan. It was all because of Lin Yuan's performance in the All-Star match. This traffic guard was a hardcore fan of the S tournament. Don't support any team. But every match of the S tournament was a must-watch. Even the matches related to the S tournament were not missed. When Lin Yuan saw this traffic guard, he called out his name. He nodded at the traffic guard before replying. This fay vehicle has been certified by the Transportation Bureau since it was built. It's just a fay pulling the carriage. We haven't confirmed it yet. I'm going to register now. The guard was rather excited to see Lin Yuan. But he still followed the rules and said, "Only creation masters can make a temporary registration. If you are not a creation master, you will need to register at the Transportation Bureau. Under normal circumstances, the verification of the chariot pulling phase can be done within an hour. It's just that your chariot pulling phase are stronger. I might need to do a thorough check to see if there's any possibility of him suddenly losing control." As he spoke, he guessed Lin Yuan's identity. They thought that Lin Yuan might be from a veteran faction or a top faction. Otherwise, it was impossible to use such a powerful fay to pull the carriage. On Star Web, people had been guessing Lin Yuan's identity. Cheng Jiawei felt that he should wait for him to return. Perhaps he could make a post on Star Web. He should be able to gain a lot of fans. At that moment, the traffic guard heard Lin Yuan say, "That's right. No need to trouble yourself." After saying that, Lin Yuan handed over his creation master crest. At first, he was surprised that Lin Yuan was so young. He was actually a creation master. But when he saw the moon totem on the badge, traffic guard Cheng's hand trembled, and he almost dropped his badge. Cheng Jiawei had never expected this. Lin Yuan was actually that lord's disciple. And he had even stopped the carriage of that lord's disciple. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yuan only needed to reveal his identity. He could drive the fay carriage over. Who would have thought? Lin Yuan was actually so polite to her. He didn't have any arrogance at all. Cheng Chao hurriedly handed the badge back to Lin Yuan and said, "That's right. My lord, please take care." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan bade farewell to the transportation guard. He drove the Fey carriage toward the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. Lin Yuan had always deliberately concealed his identity as the Moon Empress disciple. But now, he felt that there was no need to hide it anymore. This was because the Radiance 100 sequence selection was about to begin. Facing the conspiracy of the Freedom Federation, he wanted to display his full strength. He definitely had to declare his identity as the Moon Empress disciple. Lin Yuan's Fey carriage had just arrived above the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. He felt a cold aura locking onto his Fey carriage. This aura was very special. It was clearly the aura of a spirit chi professional. But it had the wildness of a Fey. With a single glance, one could tell that this aura was released by an expert with beast marks. Yin Lin was the Azure envoys of the Azure Federation. Even if it was a secret trip, there would definitely be experts from the Azure Federation accompanying and protecting her. She felt an aura targeting this Fey carriage. Xue Shuo released his aura and pushed back. Just as that aura was about to collide with Xue Shuo's aura, Lin Yuan had already jumped off the Fey carriage. Yin Lin felt the aura fluctuations outside the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. She walked out of the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. At a glance, she saw Lin Yuan, who was descending from the sky. The moment she saw Lin Yuan, Yin Lin's expression suddenly froze. She stared at Lin Yuan without blinking. It was not that Yin Lin was surprised by Lin Yuan's appearance. Many people in the Azure Federation's younger generation had awakened beast patterns. Generally, spirit chi professionals who had awakened beast patterns were not ugly. The bloodline of these spirit chi professionals was affected by the bloodline of Fays. Their facial features were close to the bewitching and exquisite of Fays. After Yin Lin had regained her sight, she had also come into contact with such people. Even though Lin Yuan's bone structure, appearance, and temperament were very outstanding, it was not enough to make Yin Lin lose her composure. The reason why Yin Lin had such a reaction, it was entirely because Lin Yuan gave her a feeling that was too familiar. It was so familiar that Yin Lin could not help but have a kind of familiarity and dependence. This feeling was similar to that in the center of the stars. His body was entwined with countless shadows of laws and willpower. The aura he emitted was exactly the same. Yin Lin quickly stepped forward and came in front of Lin Yuan. Her eyes revealed a childlike look of attachment. She asked softly with a trembling voice, "Is it a lion?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan nodded at Yin Lin. Lin Yuan realized that in terms of appearance, Yin Lin's appearance was actually not inferior to Su Yiren. It was just that Su Yiren's beauty was too heroic. On the other hand, Yin Lin's beauty was that of a scholarly young lady from a noble family. Lin Yuan nodded at Yin Lin and said, "That's right. Yes, I am a lion. Come with me to the Fey carriage and have a talk. How about it?" Yin Lin could be said to trust Lin Yuan wholeheartedly. There was no defense in her heart. To Yin Lin, Lin Yuan was her savior. Yin Lin hurriedly nodded and agreed. But Yin Lin nodded and agreed. The expert who was secretly protecting Yin Lin's safety could not agree. Yin Lin was the Azure Federation's Azure envoy. The Azure Cloud Leopard Beast pattern was very important. Before coming to Radiance, the Azure Federation had already collected information about Radiance. Lin Yuan had publicly appeared at the NYX assembly. Therefore, Lin Yuan's appearance had never been a secret. From the first time they saw Lin Yuan, this Azure Federation expert who was guarding Yin Lin recognized Lin Yuan's identity as the Moon Empress disciple. This was originally the Radiance Federation's territory. In the old man's opinion, letting Yin Lin and Lin Yuan travel together was not very safe. It wasn't safe at all. Moreover, in this carriage, there was an expert whose strength might be higher than his. The old man hurriedly stepped forward and said to Yin Lin, "Lord Azure Envoy, according to my perception, there's something on this Fey carriage. There's another expert. It is really inappropriate for you to get on this Fey carriage." Yin Lin glanced at the old man and said, "Uncle Lei, don't worry. Uncle Lei, don't worry. Nothing will happen. Just wait for me here. When I get off the Fey carriage, we will go back." Chapter 1589. Yin Lin didn't give the old man a chance to continue speaking. He immediately nodded at Lin Yuan. The old man could tell that Yin Lin and Lin Yuan knew each other. However, he noticed the way Yin Lin was looking at Lin Yuan. The old man stood rooted to the ground. Oh my God! There was definitely something wrong with that gaze. Damn it, what was with that look? Why was there a hint of admiration? Could it be that Lady Yin Lin was in love with this young man? It shouldn't be. Lord Yin Lin had been blind since he was young and had been raised in the Azure Cloud Leopard clan. He had never come into contact with the outside world. Lord Yin Lin's eyes recovered. At the same time, he awakened the beast marks of the Azure Clouded Leopard and the spiritual Speech White Lion. During this period, he did not leave the Azure Federation at all. This was Yin Lin's first long journey to Radiance. It was impossible for Lord Yin Lin to have any interaction with the Moon Empress disciple. Could it be that Lord Yin Lin fell in love with the Moon Empress disciple at first sight? This goddamn pretty boy. How could she be so seductive? Lord Yin Lin was simple-minded and had a one-sided understanding of the world. What if he had a love brain? If this brat really talked about feelings with Lady Yin Lin? This kid was also the Moon Empress disciple. In the future, he would most likely become a Radiance Envoy. Even if he did not become a Radiance Envoy, he would most likely become a member of the Radiance Light Knights. Such a status was already equivalent to Lord Yin Lin's. It should be impossible for him to marry into the Azure Federation. Doesn't that mean that Lady Yin Lin will very likely marry to the Radiance Federation in the future? This time, Her Excellency Yin Lin was the only Azure envoy heading to the Radiance Federation, although Lord Lan Xun was following them. However, Lord Yin Lin was still the one who had the final say. Yin Lin refused to cooperate with the Freedom Federation. They had offended the Freedom Federation. It would be fine if he maintained an absolutely neutral position. However, if Her Excellency Yin Lin and the Radiance Federation were to reach an agreement, that would be equivalent to pushing the Azure Federation to the opposite side of the Freedom Federation. It was true that the Azure Federation had been on good terms with the Radiance Federation all these years. However, there was no conflict between the Azure Federation and the Freedom Federation. The world was in turmoil. The Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation. He had already started wrestling. The Azure Federation was one of the three great federations. Any decision would affect the situation of the origin world. Every decision had to be made with extreme caution. But now, Yin Lin's thoughts were different. Could they still remain neutral? The elder felt that he should report this matter to Lord Lan Xun. However, Yin Lin was an Azure envoy. He had the right to make any decision. The Azure Federation powerhouse's mind was in a complete mess. The more he looked at Lin Yuan, the more he disliked him. However, Yin Lin agreed to Lin Yuan's invitation. The old man had no right to interfere. In the end, he could only bow and respond. He stared at the spiritual carriage being pulled by the royal armored martial godbugs. They landed on the ground. Lin Yuan and Yin Lin walked in. Then, the Fey carriage drove straight into the sky. Furthermore, the expert in the carriage had used his aura to envelop the carriage. This made it impossible for the old man's aura to lock onto the Fey carriage. It was even more impossible for him to find out what they were talking about. There was nothing the old man could do about it. He could only watch helplessly. Sitting in the Fey carriage, Yin Lin said softly to Lin Yuan, "Lion, I saw your information on the way here. But I've never thought that you're a lion." In front of Lin Yuan, Yin Lin was not restrained at all. For Yin Lin, who had not been in contact with many people since she was born, there were very few people that could be recognized by Yin Lin. Except for her parents and the maid who had been with Yin Lin since she was a child. So far, the only person Yin Lin really recognized in her heart was Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan had an extraordinary meaning to Yin Lin. The world that Yin Lin first saw in the bright stars. It was Lin Yuan's figure that was outlined by will and laws. Lin Yuan had saved Yin Lin and added all the colors to her world. Yin Lin had always regarded Lin Yuan as an angel in her heart. Therefore, even if it was the first time they met, after confirming that Lin Yuan was a lion, Yin Lin did not have the slightest sense of strangeness. Apart from kindness and joy, Yin Lin was also very surprised. She did not expect Lin Yuan to look 1 or 2 years younger than her. But at such an age, he was able to win the championship of the Dark Knight Convention. It was enough to show Lin Yuan's talent as a spirit chi professional. And the power of a creation master's talent. Yin Lin flipped her hand and took out a spatial equipment unique to the Azure Federation. It was a spatial die. She handed the spatial die to Lin Yuan and said, "Lion, in this spatial die, there are 6 kinds of top-notch mutant waters that I specially collected. Except for the mutant waters that were traded for the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls in the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. I'm giving these to you alone." When Yin Lin was in the Heavenly Body Council, she knew that Lin Yuan needed top-notch mutant waters. Yin Lin happened to have them in her hands. At that moment, Yin Lin took out these 6 top-notch mutant waters and gave them to Lin Yuan. There was no slightest purpose, nor was it to repay a favor. She simply wanted to give them to Lin Yuan. Just now on the phone, Listen said that Yin Lin wanted to trade for those Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. She had already given Listen 3 top-notch mutant waters. Including now, Yin Lin had given him 6 top-notch mutant waters. Lin Yuan already had 9 top-notch mutant waters in his hands. The Azure Federation had opened a Class 6 Water World Dimensional Rift. Since the Class 6 Water World Dimensional Rift opened, it was directly controlled by the 12 5-star Azure Federation families. The Azure Federation was not like the Radiance Federation. Her Majesty personally opened the dimensional space. She killed the powerful life forms. In the water world, she created a place that could allow low-level spirit chi professionals to develop. Firstly, it was because the water world was not like the abyss world. It could allow spirit chi professionals to build a city inside. Build a gathering place. Inside the water world, it was all endless seawater. Even with those like the oxygen filter sea anemone. Phase that could help spirit chi professionals breathe in the water. Spirit chi professionals could not live in it. In the water world, spirit chi professionals could not sleep or rest normally. The water pressure would quickly consume the spirit chi professionals' physical strength. Therefore, after comprehensive consideration, the 12 5-star Azure Federation families, they treated the Class 6 Water World Dimensional Rift as a resource shared only by the 12 5-star Azure Federation families. Only the 12 5-star Azure Federation families would develop it. Therefore, Yin Lin could take out so many top-notch mutant waters at once. Now, she wanted to improve the quality. She needed to extract the characteristics of the mutant water. To awaken the willpower. Lin Yuan had a huge demand for top-notch mutant waters. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not refuse Yin Lin's gift. Lin Yuan thought about it. Yin Lin had just traded the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. However, there was never enough Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. Chapter 1590. Lin Yuan took out a large brocade box and handed it to Yin Lin. He did not say what was inside the brocade box. He reached out to take the spatial die that Yin Lin handed over. The effects of the spatial die and the Fey storage box were not much different. However, the spatial die did not have a strong preservation function like the Fey storage box. Objects that had lost their lives were placed inside the spatial die. They would quickly rot. However, the spatial die had an advantage. It was a top-notch spatial die that had more space than the diamond Fey storage box. It also had the ability to connect inside and outside. It could be said that the spatial die could perfectly replace the Dark 7 States disc-shaped spatial equipment. Lin Yuan planned to ask Yin Lin for a few more spatial die later. With the improvement of the Spirit Lock spatial zone, the spirit pool consumed energy ores every second. It was several times faster than before. He used those golden discs to store the energy ores. Even if they were high-grade energy ores. In a month, Lin Yuan would have to work hard to fill them up at least twice. The spatial die did not take up space with the golden discs. He would get a few more, fill them with energy ores, and throw them at the bottom of the spirit pool. Lin Yuan would not have to worry about the energy ores being insufficient for a few months. It would save him a lot of effort. Lin Yuan took the spatial die that she handed over. Yin Lin's face immediately revealed a smile. She did not stand on ceremony with the brocade box that Lin Yuan handed over. But when Yin Lin opened the brocade box, she was immediately stunned by the flickering light and shadow inside the brocade box. An aqua blue color gushed out of the brocade box. In an instant, the fey carriage was dyed dark blue. Light blue pearls that were the size of fingernails. They flashed with a feeling of suddenly looking back and seeing him in the distance. This feeling made Yin Lin think of the first time she saw Lin Yuan. Xue Shuo had been in disguise. After Lin Yuan returned to the fey carriage, Xue Shuo climbed into Lin Yuan's hair. Xue Shuo was looking at the brocade box with abnormal surprise. There were nearly 1,000 pearls that contained beautiful water attribute Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. He was amazed at the Moon Empress creation master standard and Lin Yuan's generosity. He actually gave away this brocade box of treasures so casually. 6 top-notch mutant waters might be rare. However, as long as one was strong enough, they could explore the Class 5 water world dimensional rifts. He would eventually be able to explore it. However, this brocade box contained nearly 1,000 Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. Even the Moon Empress would need a long period of nurturing. It consumed a lot of energy. Yin Lin naturally knew how precious this box of Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls was. The higher the purity of Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls, the more valuable they were. With the pearl essence, the price could be doubled or even doubled compared to the usual Heavenly Maiden level elemental pearls. The grades of the pearls were divided into 4 types: Dreamy Cloud Lake, Tranquil Life, Orchid Shade, and Goddess Gossamer. The Heavenly Maiden level elemental pearl that contained the goddess gerbils only existed in legends. The pearl was a Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearl. This was the highest definition of elemental purity in the world. Yin Lin didn't dare to accept this box of items. Even though Yin Lin was an Azure envoy, he also felt that the item in the box was too precious. Under normal circumstances, 6 top-grade mutant waters could be exchanged. In the Azure Federation, he only needed 1/3 of the Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls in the box. He would be able to obtain it. Seeing that Yin Lin was about to refuse, Lin Yuan spoke. Take these Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. To be honest, the source-type cocoon demon embryo is very useful to a friend of mine. These 12 cocoon demon embryos are enough to change his life. I'll thank you on his behalf first. Yin Lin hurriedly waved his hand when he heard Lin Yuan thanking him. Lion, I should be the one thanking you. When I mentioned the source-type cocoon demon embryo to you, I wanted to remind you. The Freedom Federation's envoys must have a big plot for coming to Radiance. Since the cocoon demon embryo is useful to your friend, I'll give it all to you now. But if you don't have absolute confidence in using it, you must be extremely careful. After saying that, Yin Lin's hand shook. 12 khaki-colored cocoons appeared in Yin Lin's hand. This thing looked very ordinary. If one accidentally dropped this thing on the ground, no one would think that there was anything special about this thing. Lin Yuan took the cocoon demon embryo that Yin Lin handed over. Then he carefully put it in a wooden box. He put it in his amber button-shaped diamond fey storage box. Because Xue Shuo did not get off the fey carriage, he did not know that Yin Lin was very familiar with Lin Yuan. But now, seeing the way Yin Lin looked at Lin Yuan, and the way they communicated, Xue Shuo's heart suddenly tightened. This kid, Lin Yuan, is too attractive. When he met the Azure Federation's Azure envoy, he invited Lin Yuan to the fey carriage for a one-on-one chat. And he was so generous. Nearly 1,000 Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls were given away just like that. If Blue Lotus saw these things, she would probably die of greed. Xue Shuo thought to himself. Not to mention Yin Lin's blood relationship with that silly girl of his. Just based on Lin Yuan's looks and temperament, as well as his generosity. No girl would not like Lin Yuan. His daughter's blood relationship was originally a one-sided love. Now, there was another opponent. If he did not grasp it tightly, he would not have another chance. Xue Shuo was worried. But Xue Shuo could not care about such things. He could not drag Lin Yuan and say it. My daughter likes you. Think about it. Lin Yuan had obtained the cocoon demon embryo. He was going to give Liu Jie a call when he returned to the mansion. There were still 5 days before the Radiance 100 sequence selection. These 5 days were enough for the cocoon demon embryo to play its role. After exchanging resources, Lin Yuan decided to talk to Yin Lin. His purpose of pulling Yin Lin onto the Fey carriage was not just to exchange resources. If it was just to exchange resources, it could be done in the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. Yin Lin, I want to talk about cooperation with you now. You have to be clear that I'm talking about cooperation with you now, not as a lion. I'm standing on Radiance's side. As Her Holiness disciple, I'm here to talk to you. Although Yin Lin treated Lin Yuan as her savior. However, Yin Lin was an Azure envoy and shouldered the mission of an Azure envoy. Since Lin Yuan said so and said it so formally, Yin Lin no longer treated her identity as a member of the Celestial Council. Instead, she was standing on the Azure envoy's side. Yin Lin said very seriously, Lin Yuan, speak. If you stand on the lion's side, I will help you unconditionally. But you stand on the Hui Yaro's side and want to talk about cooperation. I must ensure that the interests of the Azure Federation are not harmed. Chapter 1591. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows. Lin Yuan really liked Yin Lin's current attitude. Yin Lin showed a clear distinction between public and private affairs. Only then would it be convenient for Lin Yuan to discuss the upcoming collaboration. That was because this collaboration was truly too important. Yin Lin was the only one who was able to distinguish between public and private affairs, without any other feelings. Only then could Lin Yuan feel at ease. Of course, since it's a collaboration, the ultimate goal is obviously a win-win situation. Lin Yuan's words made the smile on Yin Lin's face bloom instantly. At the same time, Yin Lin looked at Lin Yuan. Another change took place. In fact, this discussion involved the Radiance Federation and the Azure Federation. When the two great federations worked together, Yin Lin was afraid that Lin Yuan would use his identity as a lion to negotiate. Yin Lin was willing to help Lin Yuan unconditionally and repay him. But Yin Lin was an Azure messenger. He carried with him the glory of the Azure Federation and a deep sense of responsibility. If this matter was beyond Yin Lin herself, and the Azure Cloud Leopard clan's own abilities, he needed to use the power of the Azure Federation. Yin Lin found it difficult to choose. If he used the Azure Federation's power to help Lin Yuan, Yin Lin had basically thrown away her responsibilities as an Azure envoy. He had abandoned the glory of the Azure Federation. The Azure Clouded Leopard clan would never be able to raise their heads in the Azure Federation. Lin Yuan's words made Yin Lin feel Lin Yuan's bearing, and their attitude and style of doing things. Yin Lin had originally been close and attached to Lin Yuan. But now, after Lin Yuan showed such a magnanimous bearing and pattern, he had no choice but to accept it. Yin Lin suddenly felt it was even harder for him to shift his gaze away from Lin Yuan. Yin Lin forced herself to calm down and not look at his glasses. He said, if it's really a win-win cooperation, on behalf of the Azure Federation's diplomatic corps, I agree. Upon hearing Yin Lin's words, Lin Yuan raised his brows. Yin Lin knew why she wanted to cooperate with him. Hence, there was no need to waste any words. He directly led the topic to the cooperation itself. At the same time, Yin Lin was also indirectly indicating to him he had the authority to make decisions in the Azure Federation's diplomatic mission. He could control the will of the entire envoy group. But for now, I can only represent the Azure Federation's diplomatic mission. They couldn't represent the entire Azure Federation. That was the truth. It was true that the Azure envoys had absolute authority in the Azure Federation. However, the Azure Federation was controlled by the 12 Azure aristocratic families. The heads of each of the 12 Azure aristocratic families were equivalent to Radiance's majesty. As a result, Yin Lin, who had just become an Azure envoy, had no choice but to follow her orders. He had yet to participate in the assembly of 10,000 states. He didn't achieve anything at all. This was an important decision that involved the Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation. Right now, Yin Lin could only give suggestions. He still had the right to make decisions. Lin Yuan did not immediately state his purpose. Instead, she asked Yin Lin. Back then, the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission cooperated with the Azure Federation's diplomatic mission. Even if you refused to cooperate and did not discuss the details with the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission. But what exactly is the goal of the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission? I believe you should be very clear about this. Hearing that, Yin Lin nodded. Without the slightest hesitation. It was impossible for the Freedom Federation's envoy team to make a big move in the Radiance Federation. Things like source-type cocoon demon embryos. The Freedom Federation's envoys didn't have the guts to invest in various parts of the Radiance Federation. If it really erupted, it would be a terrifying Tumor Fey disaster. The Radiance Federation would investigate the situation. They would immediately think of the fluorescent earthworm disaster that happened in the Freedom Federation. The Freedom Federation's actions would definitely incur the Radiance Federation's Majesty's revenge. The Radiance Federation's Majesty might not be able to quickly stop the disaster. However, they could directly use 10-star and above sacred source lifeforms to trigger a meteorological phenomenon. The meteorological phenomenon would cause a natural disaster to spread throughout the Freedom Federation. The Freedom Federation's Majesty was tightly holding onto their own interests. The Radiance Federation's revenge would cause the Majesty's interests to suffer. This was not what the Freedom Federation's Majesty was willing to see. But even if it didn't cause a big problem. However, during the Radiance 100 Sequences test, the Freedom Federation would definitely propose a friendly exhibition match. During the friendly exhibition match, the Freedom Federation would definitely bare their fangs and kill. Yin Lin received top-secret information. Apart from one Freedom Envoy, the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission to the Radiance Federation. There were also 3 people who had just become independent 100 Sequence members. But they were all favored by the Freedom Federation's Majesty. The Freedom Federation's Freedom Envoy had yet to be selected. It wasn't like the Azure Federation's Azure Envoys, who could add new spots at any time. These 3 people would definitely be the next Freedom Envoy's seedlings. Yin Lin thought about this top-secret information for a long time. In the end, she decided to tell Lin Yuan. After Yin Lin understood Lin Yuan's age, she felt that Lin Yuan would most likely participate in the Radiance 100 Sequence selection. Even if Lin Yuan didn't participate in the Radiance 100 Sequence, he would definitely attend the ceremony as Her Majesty's disciple. 3 of the Freedom Federation's young generation's top experts had come. Their goal was definitely not limited to making a move on the 10 newly promoted Radiance 100 Sequence members. They wanted to lure Her Majesty's disciple into the battlefield. This was the Freedom Federation's true goal. Only the death of Her Majesty's disciple, the Radiance Federation's top geniuses. Only the Freedom Federation's 3 pending Freedom Envoys would be worth it. In this kind of situation where everyone was watching, they would really kill the Radiance Federation's young generation. The Radiance Federation's Majesty wouldn't be able to make a move. It was for the Federation's bearing and face. They even had to ensure the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission's safety in the Radiance sect. If the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission's members accidentally killed someone in the exhibition match. But in the Radiance sect's territory, there would be injuries. In the future, there would probably be no more diplomatic missions coming to the Radiance sect to attend the ceremony. She could find out that Lin Yuan was at the Evernite Assembly. The news of first place in both the civil and martial arena. The Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission could also find out. Therefore, Lin Yuan was the Radiance Federation's number 1 among the young generation. Naturally, he became the target of the Freedom Federation's envoys. There was a 2-year agreement between the Freedom Federation and the Radiance Federation. The stakes of this 2-year agreement were too great. The Freedom Federation couldn't afford to lose a Class 5 Creation Master's path. The Radiance Federation also wouldn't be willing to help the Freedom Federation build the Star Web. In this kind of situation, consuming the strength and number of the opponent's top experts of the young generation. It was undoubtedly the best choice to strike the opponent. It was also a choice that had to be made. Lin Yuan would definitely become the target of the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission. Yin Lin told Lin Yuan this news. It was selfish. It was to let Lin Yuan have a guard in his heart. Otherwise, there was no need for Yin Lin to say such top-secret news. Chapter 1592. After all, the news itself meant that Yin Lin was already standing on Lin Yuan's side. Lin Yuan's eyes flickered when he heard Yin Lin's words. Suddenly, a plan formed in his mind. All of this was within Lin Yuan's expectations. But Lin Yuan did not expect it. Only from the Federation's diplomatic corps, there were actually 3 candidates for the position of Freedom Envoy. Lin Yuan suddenly felt the pressure. In this Radiance 100 sequence selection, there were only 2 disciples. There were only him and Gao Feng, the 2 disciples of His Majesty. Gao Feng was also a support-type spirit chi professional. He was not sure if Gao Feng had been under Lord Cicada Cry for the past few months. How much had he been trained? However, the usefulness of support-type spirit chi professionals was reflected in a team. Lin Yuan and Gao Feng could not be considered a formed team. During the battle, Lin Yuan had to be distracted to protect Gao Feng. Fortunately, Gao Feng had been contracting sacred source lifeforms recently. Come to think of it, during the battle with the Freedom Federation's envoy, Gao Feng's sacred source lifeform should be able to come in handy. Every sacred source lifeform had a function that could not be replicated. The Freedom Federation's 3 disciples were favored by Lord Cicada Cry, even though they were newcomers to the Freedom 100 sequence. But these people were candidates for the Freedom Envoys. Everyone must have contracted sacred source lifeforms. He only had 2 sacred source lifeforms on his side. And there were 3 on the other side. He was undoubtedly in a disadvantageous position. Lin Yuan was not afraid of the 3 of them. But in a battle that concerned the reputation and prestige of the Federation, he had to be careful. Because he could not lose this battle. He could not afford to lose. Gao Feng basically had no offensive capabilities. Even if Genius and Chimey had completed their evolution. Princess Sacred Sword Mode had a few more sword techniques. And these sword techniques were full of energy. But Lin Yuan still did not dare to say that he could fight 1 against 3. Since the Freedom Federation wanted to cause trouble, he might as well help it become popular and create an even bigger one. Let them know what it meant to give them a taste of their own medicine. Lin Yuan tilted his head and spoke to Yin Lin in a serious tone. He told her his plan. Yin Lin's eyes widened when she heard it. After a while, Yin Lin came back to her senses and said, "Yuan, are you sure you want to do this? If you do this, I'm afraid that you will become the number 1 target of the Freedom Federation." In Yin Lin's heart, they were shocked by Lin Yuan's boldness, madness, and decisiveness. He actually dared to make such a decision. After Lin Yuan was done with his plan, Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. He changed the topic. "Since you said it's a win-win situation, help me when the Freedom Federation proposes a friendly exhibition match. Muddy the waters and lure the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission into the water. Give me another 20 infant elemental shellfish. I can provide you with 500 Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls every month for 2 years. As for the pearls, I can't pick them 1 by 1. However, the number of Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls that contain black willows will not be less than 60%. The spirit chi density in the spirit lock spatial zone was very high. The speed at which the elemental shellfish spat out the elemental pearls increased again. The quality of the elemental pearls had also been enhanced. For Lin Yuan to say such words, he had the confidence. The spirit lock spatial zone had only evolved for a few days. However, in just these 2 days, Yi Qingtang's expression changed. 2 Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls appeared in the spirit lock spatial zone. Furthermore, the pearls spat out by the elemental shellfish contained black willows. There were at least 6 pearls out of 10. It was rather difficult for Lin Yuan to obtain Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls without pearls. When Yin Lin heard Lin Yuan's words, she was shocked again. 20 infant elemental shellfish. For a water swamp kingdom like the Azure Federation. They weren't considered rare items. Yin Lin's spatial dye had plenty of infant elemental shellfish. However, if these infant elemental shellfish were to be used, it wasn't just enough to induce them into the elemental shellfish. Instead, it required a large amount of creation master resources. Only then could the elemental pearls be produced. To produce Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls with pearls that contained black willows. It was already within the capabilities of a Class 5 creation master, providing 500 Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls every month. Among them, 300 pearls were black willows. Even a Class 5 creation master would have to spend days and nights concocting the pure spirit fluid. To supply the elemental shellfish, it would require at least 15 days. It could be said that Lin Yuan was giving her a reward. For 2 years, Lin Yuan was lending her half of a Class 5 creation master. 2 years, 12,000 Heavenly Maiden grade elemental pearls. Even if the pearls weren't at Black Willow's level, it was still a sum that Yin Lin could obtain in a short period of time. Resources that she couldn't even imagine. Yin Lin originally didn't want to accept these resources. But looking at Lin Yuan's expression, Yin Lin finally swallowed the words that were at the tip of her tongue. She and Lin Yuan were talking about cooperation. If she didn't accept Lin Yuan's reward, she wouldn't be using her identity as an Azure envoy to carry out this cooperation. But anyway, Yin Lin was planning to invest these resources into her private faction. This private faction would eventually be crowned with the name of Sky City. It was considered making the best use of everything. She was also using another method to return these resources to Lin Yuan. She was helping Lin Yuan. But when the Freedom Federation's envoy requested to have an exhibition match with the newly promoted Radiance 100 sequence members, she made the Freedom Federation's envoy personally announce that life and death was not an issue. Then she guided the Freedom Federation's envoy to request for the Disciples of Radiance to enter the arena. She was doing this, although she was helping Lin Yuan to complete the plan. But in the eyes of the Freedom Federation's envoy, her actions were undoubtedly equivalent to helping the Freedom Federation's envoy. But in Yin Lin's opinion, it was really a little too dangerous. Although Lin Yuan told Yin Lin the plan, but he didn't expose his identity as black. The Freedom Federation wanted to maximize the purpose of this trip. After recognizing Gao Feng's identity, they found that there was only one disciple of Her Majesty in the arena. They would definitely pull at least one disciple of Her Majesty into the arena. In this case, whether it was La Zongzi, Jiyu Lang or an he, Lin Yuan and Gao Feng could form a team with them. On one hand, it would let Gao Feng play a role. On the other hand, it would also let the combat power on the arena reach a balanced level. The 3 disciples of Her Majesty of the Radiance Federation against the 3 favored disciples of Her Majesty of the Freedom Federation. If the Freedom Federation's envoy was too greedy and insisted on pulling 2 disciples of Her Majesty, in this kind of situation, Lin Yuan didn't mind fighting 4 against 3. Let the Freedom Federation's envoy suffer the consequences of their own actions. After this battle, his identity as black was destined to merge with the identity of Moon Empress disciple. From then on, there would no longer be black in the world. Or rather, Lin Yuan was black himself. Chapter 1593. Yin Lin was silent for a long time. Baidu Searchi looked at Lin Yuan seriously and said, "Lin Yuan, the cooperation you proposed. As an Azure envoy, I have no reason to refuse." Speaking until here, Yin Lin paused for a moment. Her tone was filled with unconcealable worry. "Lion, are you sure I will cooperate with you as you say? Won't there be any accidents? The Freedom Federation has the guts to send the 3 of them to cause trouble. The 3 of them must have abilities that far surpass the other young generation of the Freedom Federation. In this competition, the slightest move will affect the whole situation. It concerns the 10,000 States Convention 2 years later. I hope you can consider it carefully. Lion, I don't want you to take risks." Lin Yuan heard Yin Lin's words. He knew that Yin Lin was worried about his safety. For the Freedom Federation to send out these 3 experts of the younger generation, it was without a doubt that they had the confidence to do so. But Lin Yuan wanted Yin Lin to cooperate with him. It was also to increase the Radiance Federation's confidence. Because Lin Yuan was carrying Gao Feng, Lin Yuan really did not dare to guarantee that he could fight 1 against 3. But if there could be another disciple to help, Lin Yuan's chances of winning would undoubtedly be higher. Lin Yuan could do other things with confidence. But it involved the entire Radiance Federation's reputation. Lin Yuan would definitely be very careful. As for Yin Lin's worries, Lin Yuan had also thought about it. But the Freedom Federation's conspiracy had been confirmed. He would participate in the Radiance 100 sequence selection as Black. He was already in this game. Of course, Lin Yuan still had a way to go. It was to directly refuse to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence selection. This way, Lin Yuan could stay away from danger. But if this was the case, the final result. It could only be Gao Feng and the other newly selected Radiance 100 sequence members. They would be killed by the Freedom Federation's envoy in the friendly exhibition match. This was what Lin Yuan did not want to see. Lin Yuan understood the meaning of the Radiance envoy. The selection to decide to participate in the Radiance envoy began. He already had the determination to use everything to fight for Radiance. I'm afraid the Freedom Federation's plan has already been decided. What you are doing is equivalent to doing me a big favor. When the time comes, it will depend on you. Yin Lin, if the Azure Federation encounters such a situation, I believe that you will also fight to the death for the Azure Federation. Upon hearing that, Yin Lin gritted her teeth. He said, "All right, Lion, I know what to do." In the end, Yin Lin still couldn't get rid of Lin Yuan. He was only treated as Hui Yaro's disciple. When Yin Lin agreed to help Lin Yuan, she had already made up her mind. Since the Freedom Federation was forcing the Republic of Radiance to hold an exhibition match, then he might as well bring the people of the Azure Federation and join in as well. When his eyes recovered, this caused his soul to mutate. His first sacred source lifeform was a functional one. It could block all information. However, his second sacred source lifeform was completely different. Of the current 5 Azure envoys, if he had to use this sacred source lifeform, Yin Lin felt that her ranking would rise by at least 1 place. For Hui Yaro, Lin Yuan had personally taken the risk. Yin Lin could not interfere. However, Yin Lin could use herself as Lin Yuan's insurance on the battlefield. Yin Lin stood up and said softly, "Lion, I was going to treat you to a meal today. However, the Radiance 100 sequence selection is around the corner. I don't think you're in the mood to eat with me. How about this, after everything has come to an end? Before I leave Hui Yao, let's have a meal together. I don't have enough of those 20 infant elemental shellfish. I'll personally have someone send it to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce tomorrow. We'll meet again on the day of the Radiance 100 sequence selection." After speaking, Yin Lin prepared to leave the Fey carriage. At that moment, Yin Lin heard Lin Yuan's voice. "I'm still in the mood to eat. I have a friend who cooks really well. Before you leave, I'll try to let you eat his cooking. Then I'll introduce Tian Cheng to you. Let's go. I'll take you to the Spirit Food Pavilion for a meal." The Spirit Food Pavilion is probably the best food in the entire royal capital. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Yin Lin's heavy heart suddenly relaxed. Yin Lin turned to look at Lin Yuan. This gaze seemed to want to remember Lin Yuan forever. After that, Yin Lin took out a conch shell. His finger gently dug into the conch shell. He dug out some transparent paste. Yin Lin smeared this paste on his face. Yin Lin's appearance suddenly became ordinary. After using the paste in the conch shell on himself, Yin Lin handed the conch shell to Lin Yuan and said, "Lion, this is the masquerade demon snail that is abundant in our place. It's a paste refined with the masquerade demon snail's blood as the main ingredient. When smeared on the face, it has the effect of changing one's appearance." In Yin Lin's opinion, Lin Yuan was His Holiness disciple in the Radiance Federation. Given Lin Yuan's identity as His Holiness disciple, It would undoubtedly be very inconvenient for him to go out to eat in public. Take Yin Lin for example. If Yin Lin was in the Azure Federation and casually appeared in a restaurant, it would definitely cause a sensation. Lin Yuan also had a disguise method. Lin Yuan still had a lot of the faceless paper that Wen Yu had produced using source paper. However, since Yin Lin had already handed over the masquerade demon snail paste that could disguise, Lin Yuan simply took it. He also dug out some transparent paste from this demon snail. Lin Yuan found that the masquerade demon snail paste did not have the slightest smell. Although it was a paste texture, when it just touched Lin Yuan's fingers, there was a tendency to turn into water. Lin Yuan smeared this paste on his face. In a moment, Lin Yuan's face changed. At this moment, Lin Yuan's appearance after disguise was completely different from the appearance changed by the faceless paper. When Lin Yuan used the faceless paper, his appearance only became ordinary. However, the masquerade demon snail paste made Lin Yuan's appearance very ugly. Looking at Lin Yuan's appearance after disguise, Yin Lin suddenly thought of the side effect of the masquerade demon snail. The masquerade demon snail paste had the effect of reducing the appearance of girls. When used on boys, it would depend on the boy's appearance. The appearance would decrease or increase the corresponding value. If a man was ugly, he could use the masquerade demon snail paste to make himself handsome. But if a man was very handsome, then the paste of the masked magic snail would turn him into an ugly monster. Seeing this, Yin Lin hurriedly handed Lin Yuan a handkerchief and said, "Lion, I forgot the side effect of the masquerade demon snail paste. You'd better smear this paste off." Yin Lin did not think that there was anything wrong with Lin Yuan becoming ugly. What Lin Yuan gave Yin Lin was that kind of closeness and attachment. It had nothing to do with Lin Yuan's appearance. And Yin Lin, who had just recovered her vision not long ago. There was no absolute definition of beauty and ugliness. Instant Beast Evolution Quotient. Please bookmark this site so that you can read it online the next time there is an update. Starting to update the mobile version of Do 5. Chapter 1594. Yin Lin would let Lin Yuan wipe off the cream on his face. After all, he was His Majesty's disciple. This kind of disguise was really damaging to the image of His Holiness's disciple. He looked through the reflection of the completely jade-textured wood in front of him. He saw his current appearance. Lin Yuan was rather speechless about his current appearance. When he was rubbing the cream down, he realized something. The paste of the masked conch was only on the surface of the skin. If he wiped off all the paste, his true appearance would immediately be revealed. Although the effect of the disguise was good, however, its durability was extremely poor. It couldn't be compared to the effects of the faceless paper at all. Lin Yuan wiped off the mask conch cream on his face. He might as well let Genius transform into an artifact within the spirit lock spatial zone. Lin Yuan took out the mask that Genius had transformed into and wore it. He said to Yin Lin, "Come on, let's go eat." Anyway, Yin Lin had changed her appearance. Even if he revealed Black's identity as Black, he dined with Yin Lin. Yin Lin wouldn't be recognized by anyone. The moment Yin Lin saw Lin Yuan put on his mask, she was stunned. At this moment, Yin Lin finally understood. Why would Lin Yuan set up such a trap? This made Yin Lin even more determined to bring the members of the Azure Federation. Determination to participate in the friendly exhibition match. If it was said that the genius participating in the Radiance 100 sequence selection was Black, then there was no way he would be able to defeat Black. It was Lin Yuan. If Lin Yuan's plan was executed well, he would be able to survive. It was truly possible for them to kill the 3 Freedom Federation people who were favored by His Majesty. Lin Yuan had just put on this mask in front of him. Black's identity was revealed. It meant that Lin Yuan trusted him very much. This made Yin Lin smile. Xue Shuo simply did not know what to say in Lin Yuan's hair. Lin Yuan's invisible flirting was simply too fatal. At that moment, Xue Shuo saw Lin Yuan suddenly reach out and grab Yin Lin. Then, it was Lin Yuan, Yin Lin, and himself. He appeared at the entrance of the Spirit Food Pavilion. Lin Yuan's move immediately let Yin Lin know. Lin Yuan had the ability to teleport. Lin Yuan would reveal his identity as black in front of Yin Lin. On one hand, it was because Yin Lin had already revealed many secrets to him. Moreover, Yin Lin was a member of the Celestial Council. Lin Yuan was 100% trustworthy. On the other hand, he did not intend to expose Wen Yu's face. The faceless paper wasn't just important to Sky City. It had extraordinary significance to the entire Radiance Federation. It could be said that Wen Yu's source paper was an absolute secret. Lin Yuan naturally could not spread such a secret. Even if Yin Lin was absolutely trustworthy, it was still the same. The more Xue Shuo looked at Lin Yuan, the more he felt that he was subtly flirting. Xue Shuo thought to himself. The expert who was secretly protecting Yin Lin. He should still be waiting foolishly under the Fey carriage. Wearing a mask, Lin Yuan appeared at the Spirit Food Pavilion's entrance. It had indeed caused a sensation. However, the commotion was not limited to the people around them. All of them surrounded Lin Yuan. Instead, it caused the surrounding people to discuss wildly. Look, another person is wearing a silver mask to imitate black. This is the 7th person I've seen today. So what if you see 7? Didn't you see those students in the Royal Capital Advanced Spirit Chi Academy? Basically, every one of them has a silver mask. My husband is a Class 3 spirit craftsman. When my girl came home yesterday, she insisted that my husband make 100 silver masks for her. I originally thought that she was going to sell them at the school, but I didn't expect that this stinky girl had joined Black's official fan club. She asked her father to make these silver masks for the fan club's current activity. Did you guys see the duel between Black and Lu Shuang on Starweb? Given the strength that Black has displayed, he can definitely become a Radiance 100 sequence member in this Radiance 100 selection. What kind of expert is Lu Shuang? Black has reached the Sanctuary class on Starweb. If it wasn't for the rule that new Radiance 100 sequence members can only be ranked between 90th and 100th, I think Black can at least reach the top 10. Yin Lin was a little confused. These people were discussing Black, that's right. Black was now in front of these people. These people didn't have any reaction at all. Could it be that Lin Yuan knew how to turn invisible? But soon, Yin Lin understood from these people's discussion. She knew what was going on. In order to entertain Yin Lin, Lin Yuan specially ordered a few gold dishes. After eating, Lin Yuan teleported through the node. He brought Yin Lin back to the Fey carriage again. Yin Lin smiled like a flower and waved at Lin Yuan. After saying goodbye, she jumped out of the Fey carriage. Just as Yin Lin was about to land, a blue cloud appeared around Yin Lin. These clouds let Yin Lin float in the air. It was as if she was walking freely on flat ground. Yin Lin said to the old man who was guarding her, "Come, let's go back. Let's go back. I have already met the Radiance 100's majesties today. In these few days before the Radiance 100 sequence selection, I have to go into a short seclusion. How about letting teacher Lan Zun participate in those activities on my behalf?" The old man thought to himself. "Young lady, are you asking me what I want? Or are you arranging things for me? If you want to arrange things for me, can you not use an inquiring tone? How can I be qualified to give ideas in front of you?" After completing the transaction with Yin Lin, the 12 Emperor armored martial god insects that were like steel angels brought the Fey carriage that everyone couldn't help but look up to. They returned to the return from faraway mansion. The first thing they did after returning to the return from faraway mansion, Lin Yuan dialed Liu Jie's number. When Lin Yuan and Wen Yu first found out about the source-type cocoon demon embryo, Lin Yuan and Wen Yu did not tell Liu Jie about it. This was because they had not seen the cocoon demon embryo with their own eyes and held it in their hands. If he told Liu Jie about it, Liu Jie would definitely look forward to it. But in the end, if there was an accident, if they could not obtain the cocoon demon embryo, Liu Jie's original expectations were great, then how much disappointment would he be in the future? Therefore, Lin Yuan and Wen Yu came up with a plan. After obtaining the cocoon demon embryo, they would inform Liu Jie. The call was picked up by Night Leaning Moon. Lin Yuan heard Night Leaning Moon say, "Little Yuan, little Jie is now in seclusion. He is testing the strength of those newly contracted insect-type cancer phase." Little Yuan, little Jie is now in seclusion. He might need to go into seclusion for another 2 days. Night Leaning Moon paused for a moment. Then, she said very sincerely, Little Yuan, I want to thank you for the feather fan you gave me. That feather fan fulfilled my wish for many years. Night Leaning Moon had only thanked 3 people in her life. One of them was the Moon Empress. Night Leaning Moon had forgotten how much she had given to the Moon Empress. How many times had she thanked her? The second person was Iron Prison. Iron Prison had said that she could use the desolate bloodline phase when she transferred her life force to the Moon Empress. Night Leaning Moon thanked Iron Prison. Instant Beast Evolution Quotient. Please bookmark this site so that you can read it online the next time there is an update. Starting to update the mobile version of Do 5. Chapter 1595. The last person was Lin Yuan. Night Leaning Moon had never thought about it. One day, he would thank a junior. Furthermore, this person was the Moon Empress disciple. Upon hearing Night Leaning Moon's words, Lin Yuan replied with a smile. Congratulations, Aunt Yi. If Aunt Yi still needs those black feathers, you can tell me. Night Leaning Moon, who was on the other end of the line, heard Lin Yuan's words. Zhong Xian's expression froze. Night Leaning Moon knew of Lin Yuan's relationship with the mother of Bloodbath. However, he didn't know that Lin Yuan could help resurrect the Jade Gui. Night Leaning Moon was puzzled. When did Bai Feng become so easy to talk to? Didn't that black phoenix cherish its feathers the most? The Night Empress was about to refuse. The Night Empress did not want Lin Yuan to owe the heaven-blessed mansion a favor because of her. However, Lin Yuan's next words made the Night Empress confused. Every time Uncle Bai Feng sees me, he will give me a bunch of feathers. If Aunt Yi doesn't need it, I can only let when you take these feathers. Go make 2 pillows. During this period of time, Lan Lian, Bai Feng, and Xue Shuo, they all lived in the return from faraway manor. Lin Yuan slowly faced Blue Lotus, White Phoenix, and Xue Shuo. He also had a certain level of understanding. Don't look down on the fact that the 3 of them were heaven's chosen spirits, peerless experts of the current era. However, Lin Yuan found that their minds were rather simple. Usually, Xue Shuo had a mild temperament. The feeling he gave Lin Yuan was very similar to Jiu Lang. Lan Lian was like a classical lady who loved to eat tomatoes. He had a strong imagination. He got along well with Wen Yu and Lu Pinru. Later, he decided to discuss it with Wen Yu and Lu Pinru. How was he going to design spirit chi clothing? On the other hand, Bai Feng's mirror never left her hand. When he had nothing to do, he would take out a mirror and look at his own face. He seemed to be very intoxicated. Then, he begged Wen Yu and Lu Pinru every day. Design a sturdy fishing net suit for yourself. For Wen Yu and Lu Pinru, making a set of spiritual chi clothing was a piece of cake. Therefore, for the past few days, Bai Feng had received new clothes to wear every day. Xue Shuo was the first to know that Lin Yuan could save Jade Gui. Later on, Lan Lian and Bai Feng also learned about it. Every time Blue Lotus saw him, she would give him a tomato. At first, Lin Yuan thought that this tomato was just an ordinary item. But in his hands. Only after using true data to check did he find out. The tomato was formed from a sacred source life form. It had an extremely strong recovery effect. Although it wasn't like the jasmine lily that could regenerate severed limbs. But as long as he was still breathing, he would swallow the tomato. He could instantly recover from any injuries he suffered. Apart from Blue Lotus, who would give him tomatoes every time she saw him, Blue Lotus had given him tomatoes. Every time Bai Feng saw Lin Yuan, she would pinch herself hard. Then, it gave Lin Yuan a handful of black feathers. These black feathers contained vast amounts of pure night energy. The power of night was different from pure darkness energy. Bai Feng's feathers were useless to him. Moreover, Bai Feng's hair was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lin Yuan was really afraid that Bai Feng would send him off. Then, he would become bald. Bai Feng was a beauty lover. Lin Yuan found it hard to imagine what would happen after Bai Feng turned into a bald uncle. How sad I am when I look in the mirror. Therefore, Lin Yuan wanted to ask Night Leaning Moon. Did he still want the black feather? When Night Leaning Moon heard Lin Yuan's words, she was immediately swallowed by her own saliva. He choked and coughed. It was something that he had been yearning for decades. Lin Yuan actually wanted to use him as a pillow. Night Leaning Moon had to admit that her heart was sour. Night Leaning Moon realized that she had interacted with Lin Yuan a few times. Except at the beginning in Indigo Azure City. She had seen the heavily injured Lin Yuan in the upgraded Water World Dimensional Rift. She had felt that Lin Yuan still looked like a young man. But in the next few encounters, Lin Yuan had saved the lives of tens of thousands of creation masters in one time. He had manipulated the sinful Di Wanmi. He had allowed the Radiants to have a 4th Class 5 creation master. Now, Lin Yuan could also obtain resources that other creation masters couldn't. How could such a Lin Yuan still look like a young man? As for whether or not she owed Lin Yuan a favor, Night Leaning Moon didn't want to think about it anymore. He had long since owed a favor to someone. Lin Yuan had saved tens of thousands of creation masters. The entire Radiance owed Lin Yuan a favor. Night Leaning Moon pursed her lips and said softly, "Little Yuan, these black feathers are very useful to me. Little Yuan, these black feathers are very useful to me. Aunt Night, thank you in advance." Although Night Leaning Moon had accepted Lin Yuan's gift, however, Night Leaning Moon remembered this favor in her heart. If he had the chance in the future, he would definitely return the favor. Night Leaning Moon suddenly thought of Lin Yuan's call. It was to find Liu Jie. He asked, "Little Yuan, why are you looking for Little Jie? If there's anything, I can call him." Night Leaning Moon's words were actually just a casual remark. At this moment, no one knew about the diplomatic mission of the Freedom Federation. What kind of wicked idea was he planning? Therefore, people like Liu Jie, Zhong Ziyi, and he, Jiao Feng, and Jiyu Lang. Everyone was desperately trying to improve their strength. Night Leaning Moon knew that Lin Yuan was a person with a sense of propriety. At this time, no matter how important the matter was, he had to prioritize improving his strength. Thus, Night Leaning Moon had never thought about it. Lin Yuan would really let her call him Liu Jie. At that moment, Night Leaning Moon heard Lin Yuan speak in a serious tone. "Aunt Yi, please call Liu Jie. When you and I obtained something that will be very helpful to Liu Jie. This thing isn't just Liu Jie's good fortune. It is more likely for Liu Jie to personally create a legend. This way, it will save time. I'll make a trip to the land of spirit suppression. Send the thing over to Liu Jie." Night Leaning Moon was startled when she heard this. She started to guess what kind of good fortune Lin Yuan was talking about. Liu Jie had already walked on a path that no one else had taken. But if Lin Yuan obtained a special insect-type carcinoma Fey, it didn't matter how strong the insect-type carcinoma Fey was. To Liu Jie, it could only be considered an improvement. It wouldn't be considered as Liu Jie's good fortune. Night Leaning Moon couldn't think of it even with her own knowledge. What was the thing that Lin Yuan mentioned that would be helpful to Liu Jie? What exactly was it? However, when Lin Yuan came later, she would know everything. Night Leaning Moon said, "Little Yuan, I will personally pick you up at the Iron Chain Bridge in the land of spirit suppression. At night, if you are not busy. Why don't you stay for a meal at the land of spirit suppression? Tomorrow, there will be a 2-day Imperial Court conference. 5 days later, I will be on the stage. I will be watching your performance during the Radiance 100 sequence selection." Lin Yuan had always wanted to bring his master, the Moon Empress, to do something. When the Mother of Bloodbath awakened the favored spirit bloodline, the Crescent Moon Psi card broke. Lin Yuan discovered that his master, the Moon Empress, had the ability to control the dimensional world's moon. She had the ability to control the dimensional world's moon for her own use. Chapter 1596. There was a purple moon in the swamp world. Lin Yuan had planned to bring his master, the Moon Empress. He planned to go to the swamp world to collect the purple moon. She must have mastered the purple moon in the swamp world. His master, the Moon Empress, had mastered an extra moon. His strength should have increased as well. The Radiance 100 sequence selection. Listening to Blood Beginning, Blue Lotus, and White Phoenix's words. There would be 2 8-page pagoda cannon coming to Radiance. Blood Beginning, Blue Lotus, and White Phoenix. They wanted to kill these 2 8-page pagoda cannon members in Radiance. This was equivalent to a clash between the world's top factions. Lin Yuan felt that his master, the Moon Empress, had become stronger. She would also have a better grasp of the situation. Lin Yuan immediately declined Night Leaning Moon's invitation. Aunt Night, if there is a 2-day Imperial Court conference tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, I will look for Master tonight. I have something to do. Wait until I am selected for the Radiance 100 sequence and get a ranking. I will go to Aunt Night's place and have a good meal with her. Night Leaning Moon did not force Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan went to look for the Moon Empress. He must have something important to do. However, Night Leaning Moon felt a little upset. This year's Radiance 100 sequence selection. It was glory for those who were selected. However, this glory was accompanied by risks this year. Take Lin Yuan for example. Lin Yuan was not even 19 years old. He had just come of age and was about to compete. Under everyone's gaze. He was fighting for the glory of the Radiance 100 sequence. Every one of these little fellows was full of vigor. They were improving themselves. According to Cicada, Gao Feng seemed to have formed a contract with an incredible sacred source lifeform. Cicada Cry had always been pragmatic. Since he praised his disciple, Gao Feng's sacred source lifeform. The sacred source lifeform's ability must be very powerful. Night Leaning Moon took a deep breath and said, after the Radiance 100 sequence selection, Aunt Night will prepare the ingredients. Let Yuja show you and little Jie. Cooking had always been Night Leaning Moon's sore spot. In order to learn how to make porridge for the Moon Empress, she had specially looked for Chef Supreme. As a result, she had accidentally set fire to the kitchen fragrance palace. It was because of this that Supreme Chef and Night Leaning Moon unilaterally became enemies. For a full 5 years, he had not spoken a single word to Night Leaning Moon. Cooking was a skill that Night Leaning Moon could never learn. However, the right stinger perfectly made up for this. Night Leaning Moon felt that even though Zhiyu's cooking couldn't compare to Liu Jie's, it was still very good. But it wasn't any worse than the kitchen fragrance palace. After hanging up the phone, Lin Yuan executed the ethereal jellyfish's ability, Node Teleportation. In a flash, he arrived at the edge of the land of suppression. The ethereal jellyfish's current strength had reached Diamond X Legend. Although there were no signs of him comprehending a willpower rune. However, the ethereal jellyfish already had thousands of tentacles. Every time a tentacle was broken, a space walnut would be consumed. The ethereal jellyfish could do it within 2 days. Grow new tentacles. In other words, if Lin Yuan wanted to, he could obtain more than 2,000 tentacles every 2 days. After obtaining such a large number of tentacles, he was no longer as cautious about using these tentacles as before. It could be said that right now, in the entire Imperial City, there was no place that he could not teleport to. It was just that this was Lin Yuan's first time coming to the land of suppression. To show respect, Lin Yuan walked toward the inside on foot. On the surface, the land of suppression was not guarded. But it was unknown how many guard envoys were in the dark. They paid attention to the land of suppression. These guard envoys all knew Lin Yuan. If it was another person who wanted to step into the land of suppression, they would definitely be stopped and investigated immediately. Lin Yuan found that inside the land of suppression, there was basically no decoration at all. Everything was the simplest furnishings. Everywhere was filled with the smell of iron and blood. He walked all the way to the Iron Chain Bridge. Lin Yuan saw Night Leaning Moon standing in the middle of the Iron Chain Bridge and looking at him. The spring breeze was faint. Under this faint spring breeze, the chain bridge was shaking violently. Of course, all this did not affect Lin Yuan at all. The guard sand quietly appeared under Lin Yuan's feet. According to the shaking of the chain bridge, it would automatically level under Lin Yuan's feet. Therefore, no matter how the chain bridge shook, every step Lin Yuan took was no different from walking on flat ground. Of course, even without these guard sand, Lin Yuan was still not afraid. Back then, he had obtained this movement technique from the body-transcending memory grass. Even if this chain bridge shook 10 times, Lin Yuan could still walk forward steadily. After Lin Yuan walked close to Night-Leaning Moon, Night-Leaning Moon looked like she was seeing a familiar junior. She gently patted Lin Yuan's shoulder and said, "I have already informed little Jie in advance. It is because of the side effect of that insect-type carcinoma Fey. The spirit power in little Jie's body has been overdrawn. Therefore, he could not come with me to pick you up. However, when you arrive at the land of suppression, little Jie will be able to recover from the overdraft of spirit qi." Night-Leaning Moon did not tell Liu Jie Lin Yuan could bring something that could transform it. She only told Liu Jie that Lin Yuan was coming to see him. Night-Leaning Moon did not expect. Her silly disciple was actually so happy that he stopped the proliferation of the spirit-burning gluten. Once the proliferation of the spirit-burning gluten stopped, the spirit qi extracted from the spirit-burning gluten had to be returned. Thanks to her silly disciple, only 500 spirit-burning gluten had been produced. If 2,000 of them had suddenly stopped in the middle of proliferation, it would have been impossible to recover without lying down for 4 hours. Liu Jie had always worked hard to be Lin Yuan's retainer. In the beginning, Night-Leaning Moon always felt that Liu Jie's goal was to rely on one person. It was too similar to her in the past. If there was a problem with the person he relied on in his heart, then the faith in his heart would collapse. It was possible that his life would no longer progress. But now, Night-Leaning Moon felt such a path and faith. It was not a bad thing for Liu Jie. Just like the person she wanted to follow, to her, it was not a bad thing. Lin Yuan walked beside Night-Leaning Moon and pondered for a moment. He reached out and took out a source-type item, the cocoon demon embryo. He handed it to Night-Leaning Moon. "Aunt Yi, take a look at this sacred source life form. Can it give Liu Jie a chance to become a legend, just like I said?" Night-Leaning Moon was a pinnacle class 4 creation master. Due to her talent, she could not progress after becoming a pinnacle class 4 creation master. She could not find the path to become a class 5 creation master. Night-Leaning Moon was already satisfied with all of this. Anyway, Night-Leaning Moon was also a pinnacle class 4 creation master. She might not be stronger than Night-Leaning Moon. In terms of creation master talent, she was not inferior to Night-Leaning Moon. That was enough. Therefore, Night-Leaning Moon immediately saw the function of the source-type item, the cocoon demon embryo. At this moment, Night-Leaning Moon's body, she suddenly trembled. It was a blueprint that made even Night-Leaning Moon's hair stand on end. It instantly unfolded in front of her. Chapter 1597. Liu Jie would walk on this path. This was what Night-Leaning Moon had arranged for Liu Jie after accepting him as her disciple. Night-Leaning Moon came up with the idea of turning Liu Jie into her ultimate weapon. The inspiration came from the Night Centipede Squad, which was under the command of the 7th page of the Tower Cannon War. Insect-type carcinoma phase might be able to create disasters. But it was also a war resource. It was just that it was difficult for ordinary people to master it. Liu Jie's fairy source-type insect queen had mutated. The mutated insect queen had the ability to contract insect-type carcinoma phase. As the strength of the insect queen grew stronger, Liu Jie could use the insect queen to indirectly control these insect-type carcinoma phase. However, Liu Jie didn't go far on this road. Night-Leaning Moon discovered a flaw. The insect queen's strength could indeed increase along with his spirit qi professional rank. And it kept improving, breaking through to the Genesis creation realm and reaching the immortal realm. Perhaps even achieving eternity. It wasn't impossible. However, due to the insect queen's intelligence, those insect-type carcinoma phase controlled by the insect queen were able to control them. In the end, it could only stop at Diamond X Legend. This was because the insect-type carcinoma Fae had chaotic intelligence. It was not enough for the insect-type carcinoma Fae to comprehend a willpower rune. In fact, in the past, before the spirit guards had banned all carcinoma Faes, Some forces would use spirit materials that could increase one's psychic power and soul power. It had been feeding the carcinoma Fae for a long period of time. This method was indeed able to restore the original chaotic consciousness of the carcinoma Fae. A low level of intelligence. However, a Cancer Fae with low intelligence would not be able to survive. Ordinary methods could no longer be used to control it. An uncontrolled carcinoma Fae would definitely become the source of a disaster. The Radiance Federation had also experienced such a disaster because of it. That was why they had banned all carcinoma Faes. Thus, Night-Leaning Moon had originally believed that Liu Jie could only contract more and more Diamond X Legend insect-type Faes. He had never thought that Liu Jie could control an insect-type carcinoma Fae. It could break the original restraints. He was heading towards the fantasy and mythical species. Now that he had this cocoon demon embryo, after letting the insect queen carry out the contract, Liu Jie could use the insect-type carcinoma phase that he controlled. He chose the one with the strongest overall strength. Let the insect-type carcinoma Fae fuse with the source-type cocoon demon embryo. To put it bluntly, an insect species carcinoma Fae that had fused with a cocoon demon embryo. It had transformed from a carcinoma Fae into a source-type lifeform. Night-Leaning Moon was able to obtain this opportunity for Liu Jie. And happy times. Lin Yuan continued to speak. Aunt Yi, I have a total of 12 cocooned demon embryos. There might be some risks in letting an insect-type carcinoma Fae fuse with a cocoon and transform into a demon embryo. At that time, I'll need you to look after Liu Jie from the side. After saying that, Lin Yuan took out the remaining 11 cocoon demon embryos. He passed it to Night-Leaning Moon. Night-Leaning Moon looked at the 12 earthen yellow demon embryos in Lin Yuan's hand. His eyes almost popped out of his sockets. A cocoon demon embryo was enough to be regarded as Liu Jie's fortune. 12 cocoon demon embryos were in his hands. Night-Leaning Moon could no longer estimate Liu Jie's future. Before obtaining the source-type cocoon demon embryo, Liu Jie was the ultimate weapon. After obtaining so many source-type demon embryos, the demon embryos would not be able to survive. Liu Jie would become the Lord of Calamity. He could casually create a natural disaster caused by an insect-type carcinoma Fae. Night-Leaning Moon had accepted Liu Jie as her disciple. She had already regarded Liu Jie as her successor. Night-Leaning Moon was not very good at expressing herself. But compared to the Moon Empress' kindness to Lin Yuan, Night-Leaning Moon's kindness to Liu Jie was not bad at all. Lin Yuan had not only given her a fortune, he had also given her disciple a fortune. Night-Leaning Moon took the cocoon demon embryo that Lin Yuan handed over. She said very sincerely, "Little Yuan, as long as it doesn't harm Hui Yarrow in the future. If you want to do anything, you can tell Aunt Yi. Aunt Yi will support you unconditionally." Lin Yuan was stunned when he heard Night-Leaning Moon's words. Then, he smiled brightly. "Aunt Yi, Liu Jie and I are brothers. You are my elder. I really don't dare to accept what you said. Chaos is coming. The stronger Aunt Yi becomes, the safer Hui Yarrow will be." Hearing Lin Yuan's words, Night-Leaning Moon knew what Lin Yuan meant. He did not intend to ask her for help in the future. That was indeed the case. The Moon Empress' strength had broken through, and her lifespan had recovered. With the Moon Empress around, it was not her turn to help Lin Yuan. But whether Lin Yuan needed it or not was another matter. Night-Leaning Moon had already said those words. Even if Lin Yuan did not need it, Night-Leaning Moon would remember it in her heart. She was prepared to talk about it in the future. She held the 12 cocoon demon embryos in her hand. Night-Leaning Moon felt that her entire hand was a little heavy. When Liu Jie's insect queen contracted these cocoon demon embryos, when it became a humanoid calamity, Liu Jie would become the most terrifying person in Hui Yarrow's group combat ability. Even if Her Majesty used the sacred source lifeform to display the phenomenon, the ability to destroy a continent, she would not be Liu Jie's match. Liu Jie's faith was in Lin Yuan. Night-Leaning Moon felt that if she really placed Hui Yarrow and Lin Yuan in front of Liu Jie, let Liu Jie choose. Liu Jie was likely to choose the latter. In other words, if one day something happened to Lin Yuan, Liu Jie would definitely go berserk. The cocoon demon embryos were very important. It was so important that Night Leaning Moon felt that it should be at the Imperial Court's meeting tomorrow. She had to properly discuss this matter. Night Leaning Moon thought of the Freedom Federation's fluorescent earthworm incident. At that time, it had guided the fluorescent earthworm to become a myth breed. It was said that it was a source-type life form of the Freedom Federation. Lin Yuan held these cocoon demon embryos in his hand. Could it be the same source-type life form that caused the Freedom Federation's fluorescent earthworm to mutate? Night Leaning Moon felt that she had to clarify this matter. Little Yuan, where did you get these cocoon demon embryos? Lin Yuan pondered for a moment when he heard that. Then, he told her what Yin Lin had told him. He told Night Leaning Moon everything. When Night Leaning Moon heard this, her eyebrows tightly wrinkled. However, the Radiance Federation's Holiness had already thought of these things that Lin Yuan had said. This matter concerned the Radiance Federation's reputation. The Freedom Federation was going to conduct this friendly exhibition match. The Radiance Federation had to accept it. Regarding the information that Lin Yuan had just revealed, Night Leaning Moon was also prepared to bring it to the Imperial Court's meeting tomorrow. She wanted to properly discuss it with the other Holiness. However, Night Leaning Moon did not expect Lin Yuan could actually get in touch with the Azure Federation's Azure envoy, Yin Lin. Yin Lin could refuse the cooperation of the Freedom Federation's envoy. She even gave the source-type cocoon demon embryos to Lin Yuan. It was enough to show that the relationship between Lin Yuan and Yin Lin should be good. Night Leaning Moon did not think about other aspects. After all, the Radiance Federation did not have the tradition of marriage. Chapter 1598. Only then did Lin Yuan and Night Leaning Moon walk into the land of spirit suppression. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. The pale-faced Liu Jie was already standing at the door. Liu Jie's eyes lit up. Then, with a worried look on his face, he quickly walked over and said, Lin Yuan, after the end of the Radiance 100 sequence selection, it will be very dangerous. At that time, I will be your retainer and fight alongside you. Night Leaning Moon replied immediately, Nonsense. When the Creation Masters were in a life-and-death duel, he could indeed ask for help from his retainer knights. However, the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission was using the guise of a friendly competition. In such a situation, Lin Yuan might be a Creation Master. It was also impossible for Lin Yuan's retainer to enter the arena. Liu Jie had always been a steady person. However, once it involved Lin Yuan's safety, they would immediately panic. Night Leaning Moon said, Little Yuan knows more than you do. How about this? I'll think of a way. When the Freedom Federation brings up the exhibition match, strive to give you a chance to go on stage. As she spoke, Night Leaning Moon transformed the 12 cocoons into demon embryos. He handed all of them to Liu Jie. This is Little Yuan's good fortune for you. Little Jie, I only have one request for you now. While saying this, Night Leaning Moon's expression became incomparably serious. Liu Jie stared blankly at Night Leaning Moon's expression. In Liu Jie's impression, it was the same. Qingyu had never spoken to him with such an expression before. Liu Jie said hurriedly, Teacher, please speak. Night Leaning Moon looked deeply into Liu Jie's eyes. Then he sighed and said, Little Jie, with your current temperament, you are not suitable to be a Radiance Envoy. Compared to the Radiance Envoys, I'm more suitable to be a member of Lin Yuan's Radiance Knights. Night Leaning Moon paused for a moment. Then, he said word by word, If there really is such a day, I hope that no matter what, you will not do anything to harm Hui Yao. Liu Jie's eyes widened upon hearing Night Leaning Moon's words. He did not understand why his master would say such a thing. Liu Jie had never thought of harming Hui Yao. Hui Yao had always been Liu Jie's target of protection. However, the first half of Night Leaning Moon's sentence was rather strange. Liu Jie heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, ever since Liu Jie became Lin Yuan's retainer, Liu Jie was only thinking about how to protect Lin Yuan. Being a Radiance Envoy was not one of Liu Jie's goals in life. Compared to the Radiance envoys, being one of the 2 members of the Radiance Light Knight Legion that belonged to Lin Yuan was more important. This made Liu Jie even more fascinated. Liu Jie knew that his master was Night Leaning Moon. He had always had high hopes for himself. Liu Jie didn't know how to break the news to Night Leaning Moon. Now that Night Leaning Moon had taken the initiative to bring it up, Liu Jie felt more at ease. Liu Jie knelt on the ground with a solemn expression. It was the same as when he had taken Night Leaning Moon as his master. He said in a deep voice, "Teacher, I will never do anything to harm Hui Yarrow in my entire life." Night Leaning Moon helped Liu Jie to his feet. He said, "Jie, your mutation started with the Blade Queen Bee," Vivian said. "I suggest that you let the Blade Queen Bee use your first cocoon demon embryo. The Blade Queen Bee's strength has transformed, and the effect of the mental toxin will increase. The mental toxin is the root cause of the Insect Queen's mutation. The Insect Queen has always responded to the Blade Queen Bee's mental toxin. Maybe the Blade Queen Bee's venom can make the Insect Queen's bloodline mutate again. It will increase from the current 4 wings to 6 wings." Night Leaning Moon was Liu Jie's master. She had already made the most suitable choice for Liu Jie in her heart. Before Night Leaning Moon accepted her disciple, she felt that apart from Hui Yarrow and the Moon Empress, other things had nothing to do with her. But now, Night Leaning Moon realized that she had changed. She didn't know when it started. Liu Jie's position in her heart was infinitely close to the Moon Empress. She could even be on equal footing with the Moon Empress. Night Leaning Moon could risk her life for the Moon Empress. She could do the same for Liu Jie. Since she was young, she had been inseparable from the Moon Empress. It was the same for her disciple and Lin Yuan. It was like a reincarnation. Night Leaning Moon could no longer protect the Moon Empress. After the Moon Empress broke through, she was stronger than her. Night Leaning Moon only hoped that she could nurture Liu Jie well, so that Liu Jie would not be like her in the future. He couldn't protect the person he wanted to protect. Liu Jie had just heard from Night Leaning Moon. She could arrange for him and Lin Yuan to fight side by side against the Freedom Federation's envoy. Liu Jie's heart immediately calmed down a lot. No matter what the situation was on the battlefield, even if he couldn't protect Lin Yuan, it could also be like before in the upgraded Water World Dimensional Rift. He could use his body to block in front of Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan didn't stay in the land of spirit suppression for long. Lin Yuan had nothing to do now. He was just waiting for the Radiance 100 sequence selection. He was going to have a good fight with the Freedom Federation's envoy. But now was the main time for Liu Jie to increase his strength. If he grasped the time tightly, within these 2 days, the cocoon demon embryo would be able to increase Liu Jie's strength. He would be able to ascend a big step. While Liu Jie went into seclusion, Lin Yuan went straight to the Radiant Moon Palace. As soon as he arrived at the Radiant Moon Palace, Lin Yuan saw his master, the Moon Empress. She was holding a little rabbit and sitting by the lotus pond. She looked at the surface of the lotus pond that was stirred by the spirit siphon goldfish. Sensing Lin Yuan's arrival, the Moon Empress stood up and said, "Cold Moon will bring Chu Ci back today. I haven't seen Chu Ci for some time. I heard from Cold Moon that her strength has increased by a lot. You came just in time. Let's go to the mountain with Master to pick some fruits. Speaking of which, I also miss Cold Moon's cooking." As one of the 2 Moon envoys, Cold Moon had always been taking care of the Moon Empress' daily life. She would only occasionally go out. But since Cold Moon accepted Chu Ci as a disciple, she brought Chu Ci out to train. She didn't have much time to stay in the Radiant Moon Palace. Lin Yuan would basically call Chu Ci every day. Naturally, he knew that Chu Ci was coming back today. Lin Yuan missed Chu Ci very much. But now, Lin Yuan had something more important to do. Lin Yuan spoke softly to the Moon Empress. "Master, when the crescent moon Psi card you gave to the mother of Bloodbath broke, the crimson moon that appeared should be the moon of the Abyss World, right?" The Moon Empress did not hide anything from Lin Yuan. "My sacred source lifeform is called moon feeding. One of the functions of moon feeding is to control the moon for one's own use. The Moon Empress had always been very private. In the entire Radiance Federation, even Night-Leaning Moon did not know what the Moon Empress' sacred source lifeform was called. This was the first time the Moon Empress had said the name of her sacred source lifeform. Lin Yuan smiled and said, "Master, I should be able to give you a green moon." "Master, then I should be able to give you a green moon." Instant Beast Evolution Quotient. Please bookmark this site so that you can read it online the next time there's an update. Starting to update the mobile version of Do 5, Smiley Face. Chapter 1599. Cyan Moon. In every dimensional world, there was a moon that belonged solely to that dimensional world. It was like the crimson moon of the Abyss world. It had already been devoured by the Moon Empress' sacred source lifeform, Feeding Moon. He became one of the Feeding Moon clansmen. What Feeding Moon devoured was not all the energy of the celestial body. Instead, it occupied the body of the moon. According to the source of the body, he was able to create his own energy. This was the only way for Moon Raw, which was being controlled by the sacred source lifeform Moon Nurturing. Only then could they truly be used by the Moon Empress. Thus, even if the Moon Empress took away the crimson moon in the Abyss world, she would not be able to do so. The original power of the crimson moon remained in the Abyss world. The dimensional creatures of the Abyss world couldn't see the crimson moon in the sky. He could no longer use the crimson moon to measure time. But the Abyss world did not disappear because of the crimson moon. And there were no effects. The interior of the dimensional rift was a projection of the dimensional world where the dimensional rift was located. Blue Moon's dimension was the swamp world. At the thought of this, the Moon Empress expression froze. Within the borders of the Freedom Federation, a Class 6 dimensional rift had opened. Wasn't it the swamp dimensional rift? Lin Yuan said that he would give him a green moon. Could Lin Yuan have a way to enter the swamp world? It could be said that it was the most suitable world for human development. It was the swamp world. The Class 6 Abyss dimensional rift opened by the Radiance Hole was connected to the Abyss world. It is possible to build mirror cities inside. However, the land of the Abyss was not suitable for agriculture and animal husbandry. Only fire attribute phase or fire attribute plant species phase. Only then could they survive. Of course, the environment of the Abyss world was very beneficial to fire attribute phase. It was an absolute treasure trove. Baidu search, however, the swamp world could grow any plant phase. Although in the swamp world, fire-type plant phase would not be enhanced by the natural environment. But the swamp soil produced in the swamp world, it could perfectly make up for this. The Class 6 swamp dimensional rift opened by the Freedom Federation. It was 2 years earlier than the Class 6 Abyss dimensional rift in the Radiance Federation. In these 2 years, the Freedom Federation had been in a state of chaos. With the development of the swamp world, they achieved extremely rapid development. Even though there had been a few incidents similar to the death of the fluorescent earthworm, the land was polluted by the fluorescent earthworms. They wouldn't be able to plant anything for decades. But by using the swamp world, the Freedom Federation was able to get through this easily. The Class 6 swamp dimensional rift had always been treated as the Freedom Federation's #1 secret ground. The Freedom Federation wasn't like the Radiance Federation. Build a mirror city in the swamp world. It would expand the Spirit Chi professionals' activity space. The Freedom Federation's Majesty had tightly controlled the Class 6 swamp dimensional rift. Then, the people were allowed to make their choice. Would he live in the main world or through the Class 6 swamp dimensional rift? Heading to the swamp world to live. No matter which choice he made, he would not be able to change it. Once he chose to enter the swamp world, they would never be able to leave the swamp world. Through this method, a large number of the Freedom Federation's territories had been established. Those who had been affected by major events and those Spirit Chi professionals who weren't living their lives well. He found a new place to go. The Freedom Federation's Majesties used this method. A third of the Freedom Confederation population. They moved to the swamp world to live and explore. Under such circumstances, no one would want to be under the watchful eyes of the Freedom Federation. Through the Class 6 swamp dimensional rift, They entered the swamp world. It was an impossible task. At the edge of the Class 6 swamp dimensional rift, the temple attendants were exchanging resources. Every one of them was a true confidant of the Freedom Federation's majesties. For this, the Freedom Federation had specially invited nearly 100 Class 5 spirit craftsmen. They used myth-breed spiritual materials to develop a large-scale spatial storage equipment. Every time they exchanged resources from the Freedom Federation and the swamp world. They only needed 3 pieces of such spatial equipment. Therefore, the Moon Empress had never had any ideas about the swamp world's moon. In fact, apart from the swamp world, the Moon Empress had never had any ideas about other dimensional worlds. The only way to enter a dimensional world was through a Class 6 dimensional rift. After the Class 6 dimensional rift opened, it wouldn't be discovered within a year and reinforced with high-grade spatial spiritual materials. It would slowly disappear. Any federation in the main world that had the ability to control a Class 6 dimensional rift. There would definitely be Class 5 creation masters in the federation. Such a federation would never allow the Moon Empress to enter their own federation. Inside the Class 6 dimensional rift that they controlled. If the Moon Empress wanted to force her way in, she would let the sacred source lifeform feed the moon and collect the moon from the dimensional world. It would definitely lead to a war. As the Radiant's Majesty's Moon Empress, it was impossible for her to lead a war to the Radiance Federation. Therefore, even if the Moon Empress obtained the Moon Roar, it would greatly increase her strength. The Moon Empress still didn't insist. At that moment, the Moon Empress heard Lin Yuan continue. Master, I have a way to enter the swamp world. It's very simple. I'll bring Master there now. To his master, the Moon Empress. Lin Yuan didn't intend to use the artifact made from the treasure cave Golden Toad's skin and stomach sac. However, if he let the Moon Empress directly enter the Spirit Lock spatial zone, it would definitely expose Morbius' existence. Morbius' existence was of great importance. Moreover, Lin Yuan had already discovered it. Morbius must have a huge secret regarding the dimensional world. Being mysterious was a good and a bad thing. That was because being mysterious often came with risks. After thinking about it, he thought about how the Moon Empress had treated him. Lin Yuan was prepared to let the Moon Empress enter the Spirit Lock spatial zone to take a look. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard the Moon Empress speak. Little Yuan, you can enter the swamp world. You will either be using the power of your sacred source lifeform, or a trump card that you haven't shown before. No matter which one it is, Yi Zichen said. Only you know it. That's the safest and safest way. You have the ability to revive the soul of the Heaven-Blessed Mansion's second hall master, Yu Gui. Tell your secret to Master. If one day Master dies, Yi Zichen said, my soul will be plundered by the enemy using some special means. It's not that I can't find out your secret through my soul. As she spoke, the Moon Empress handed 2 silver gold bells to Lin Yuan. Chef Supreme gave you a treasure made from the treasure cave Golden Toad's skin and stomach sac. At that time, the sacred source lifeform, the treasure cave Golden Toad, died. The skin and stomach sac were taken by Chef Supreme, while the eyes were taken by Bamboo Monarch. The eyes and stomach sac also have storage functions. The storage space in the eye is much larger than the storage space in the stomach. Master asked for these 2 eyes for you. They were refined into a treasure. Instant Beast Evolution Quotient. Please bookmark this site so that you can read it online the next time there's an update. Starting to update the mobile version of defy. Chapter 1600. Hang these bells made from the eyes of the treasure cave Golden Toad on the pouch made from the skin and stomach. Baidu search. The 2 come from the same source and can be used at the same time. Little Yuan, I will enter this bell first. I'll be waiting for you to take me to see the scenery of the swamp world. Lin Yuan suddenly heard the Moon Empress mentioning her death. Tears welled up in her eyes and she blurted out. Master, you formed a contract with the lifespan rat, so you have endless lifespan. How could he die? When the Moon Empress saw Lin Yuan's expression, she was stunned. He reached out and gently rubbed the hair on top of Lin Yuan's head. The Moon Empress realized that Lin Yuan had grown a little taller. When Lin Yuan had asked about the Moon Empress's Red Moon situation, the Moon Empress had said nothing. The Moon Empress hesitated for a moment. This was because the Moon Empress would understand best. Something that was regarded as a trump card could only be kept a secret. Use it when you need it. Only then would he be able to turn the tide. 10 years ago, the Moon Empress had only been Her Highness for less than 20 years. However, the Moon Empress was able to annihilate the Freedom Federation and had been an empress for over 200 years. Even though he was heavily injured, he managed to save his own life. With 13 or 14 years of respite, he went to search for the inheritance. It was because no one knew the Moon Empress trump card. However, when Lin Yuan asked about it, the Moon Empress only hesitated for a moment. He then told Lin Yuan about his trump card. It was because he trusted Lin Yuan. It was also because the Moon Empress understood the true essence of the inheritance. Inheritance was nothing more than doing everything one could to nurture. While he was in seclusion, what happened at the Whale Ocean Trading Company? This proved that Lin Yuan had become Hui Yao's backbone. He was actually able to accomplish something that even His Majesty could not accomplish. However, the Moon Empress trusted Lin Yuan unconditionally. However, he still did not want to dig deeper into Lin Yuan's trump cards. Baidu search in the legacy, the Moon Empress would only choose to do what was most beneficial to Lin Yuan. Even the Moon Empress was curious as to what method Lin Yuan had used. Only then did he enter the swamp world. Silly child, I'm just telling you a principle. This should count as the first time I've accepted you as my disciple. This is the lesson I've taught you with all my heart. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan took a deep breath. Lin Yuan had no idea about his current strength. He was already a little complacent. However, the Moon Empress words made Lin Yuan suddenly realize something. He shouldn't have set his sights on the younger generation. Because of his true enemy. They had never been members of the same generation. Instead, it was the Freedom Envoy of the Freedom Federation, Your Majesty. The Imperial Mermaid Clan of the 8 clans of the Sea Empire. Even the 8th page of the Pagoda Canon. Therefore, his strength was far from enough. The Moon Empress placed Zishi on the ground and said, Zishi, go pick some fruits. Wait for me and little Yuan to come back. Hearing this, Zishi's ears twitched. He knew that the Moon Empress didn't want to bring him along because he was too curious. Zishi was a little envious of Lin Yuan. The Moon Empress's kindness toward Lin Yuan had reached the level of pampering. Fortunately, the Moon Empress doted on him. It was truly fortunate that Lin Yuan had not gone astray. If it had been anyone else, they would probably have been pampered by the Moon Empress. He would become a condescending second-generation ancestor. Lin Yuan held the bell that the Moon Empress had just given him. It was attached to the Treasure Cave Golden Toad's skin and stomach pouch. Then, Lin Yuan used the Treasure Cave Golden Toad's bell to put the Moon Empress inside. At the same time, Lin Yuan checked the space of the Treasure Cave Golden Toad's bell. Lin Yuan found that the space inside each bell was 15 square meters. The area inside each bell was 15 square meters. It was 5 square meters bigger than the original brocade pouch. Now, Lin Yuan could control the movable space. From the original 10 square meters, it had expanded by 4 times. It reached an area of 40 square meters. Such an area was already comparable to the initial area of the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Lin Yuan no longer had to be afraid of going back and forth between the Swamp World and the Divine Wood Federation. It would be inconvenient to bring people along. Moreover, to Lin Yuan, these 2 bells had additional benefits. That was the ability to separate space. For example, his master, the Moon Empress, didn't have to squeeze with that stinky turtle. The Moon Empress taught Lin Yuan this lesson with such seriousness. Lin Yuan didn't dare to be careless. Lin Yuan first went to his breeding room and closed the door. Then, he entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Through the Klein Hub, he came to the Swamp World. Lin Yuan released the Moon Empress. In the Swamp World, on Lin Yuan's territory, they were all separated into a thick layer of carpet by the swamp water moss. There was no longer the initial muddy and messy feeling. Medusa demons were born with a love for plants. When Lin Yuan came to the swamp world, he brought a lot of flower seeds. These flower seeds were carefully planted on the swamp water moss by the Medusa demons. The swamp water moss was also happy to provide energy to these flower seeds. Around the Klein hub, there were long pavilions specially carved by spirit craftsmen. Flowers were everywhere, like the imperial garden of a classical palace. The swamp world's area was huge. Lin Yuan could use it at will. Therefore, the distance between each infrastructure was very far. It was for when some infrastructure wanted to be expanded in the future. He wouldn't have to worry about not having a place. At this moment, a few Medusa demons were reinforcing the side of the pavilion. There was a shelf made of completely jade-textured wood. On the shelf, there were wall-climbing jadeite grapes. Jadeite grapes were the 100 Questions beast's favorite fruit. They had the effect of nourishing spiritual energy. Lin Yuan specially cultivated a few bronze legend jadeite grapes, and let genius nurture them to diamond. It could be said that a fruit was raised to such a level. It was a very extravagant behavior. A few crocodile-headed humanoid creatures were beside these Medusa demons. Each of them carried a bucket of water that could fit the Medusa snake demon. The Medusa demons were scooping water from the bucket. They were watering these jadeite grapes. These crocodile-headed humanoid creatures were all by Xian. Swamp crocodiles that were transformed through their talents. Recently, they had been doing hard work in the territory and didn't know fatigue at all. The Moon Empress smelled the humid air filled with the fragrance of flowers. She looked at the blue full moon in the lavender sky. The Moon Empress could be sure that she had already arrived in the swamp world. The surroundings were built to be a thriving environment. It meant that her disciple, Lin Yuan, had already started to develop the swamp world a long time ago. Lin Yuan said softly to the Moon Empress. Lin Yuan said softly to the Moon Empress. Master, you should be able to absorb this blue moon in the sky, right? The Moon Empress nodded when she heard that. She said, 2 hours is enough to absorb this blue moon. It's just that the people of the Freedom Federation are bathing in this swamp world with this blue moon. If I absorb this blue moon, they will definitely sense it. However, I have a good idea. Just take it as an insurance for you in the swamp world. At this point, the Moon Empress paused for a moment. She then instructed. Holy Cry, after this Empress absorbs the main body of this blue moon, you will condense the moon power of this blue moon and temporarily pretend to be the blue moon in the sky in the swamp world. Instant Beast Evolution Quotient. Please bookmark this site so that you can read it online the next time there is an update. Starting to update the mobile version of Do 5. Chapter 1601. The decision will be made in a month. In fact, it wasn't just because he was afraid that the Freedom Federation would find out that something was amiss. The Moon Empress' sacred source lifeform, moon feeding. The Moon Empress had never used it before. Or rather, enemies who saw the Moon Empress using moon feed. No one could leave alive. Thus, even if the Freedom Federation really did discover that the moon in the swamp world had disappeared, they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. It was also impossible for him to think of the Moon Empress. As the Radiance Federation opened, a Class 6 Abyss dimensional rift appeared. The exploration of the Abyss world. The Moon Empress discovered that in the dimensional world, there was also a clear division of ranks. It was just that this division was a little special. By the power of worship, they were categorized into different levels of life. Above dimensional creatures were apostles. Above the apostles were the rulers. This clear classification made everything that happened in the dimensional world clear. Everything was in perfect order. Above the apostles, the sovereigns. His strength was already no different from an eternal spiritual object. Furthermore, the Moon Empress believed that the dimensional world definitely had lifeforms that were stronger than the ruler. Therefore, the powerful lifeforms in the dimensional world were extremely powerful. It was not impossible to mobilize the power of the celestial bodies. The reason why the Moon Empress said that was because of the Moon Empress. The blessed spirit, who had just reached the eternal realm, cried. He remained in the swamp world. Its fundamental purpose was to give Lin Yuan a layer of insurance. There were many experts in the dimensional world. As a master, he had to think about his disciples' safety. The holy weeping moon beast was in the dimensional world. Even against beings stronger than the divine weeping lunar beast, there was no way he would be able to escape unscathed. Given the sacred weeping moon beast's ability, it should be able to protect him. Now, turbulence was about to arrive. During the Radiance 100 sequence selection, the Tower Dien people might even be present. In the past, the Moon Empress would consider Hui Yaro. He might not be able to place the holy weeping moon beast in a dimensional world. But now, both the Moon Empress and Zishi had taken that step. The holy weeping moon beast was originally beneficial to the Moon Empress. For now, it was better than nothing. While the Moon Empress was speaking, a moon-white, long-haired giant appeared. The wolf appeared beside the Moon Queen. The giant wolf retracted all of its aura. Its body length was less than 3 meters. However, no matter how one looked at it, one could see a pure and holy aura from it. Below the wolf head's eyes, there was a deep tear groove. Her tears flowed to the corners of her mouth. There was a kind of fluorescent blue luster flickering in her tears. When Lin Yuan saw this moon-white wolf beast, his eyes lit up. He knew that this wolf was the spirit of providence that had been following his master. Holy weeping moon beast. Lin Yuan subconsciously used true data to investigate. After probing, Lin Yuan discovered something. Apart from its name, the holy weeping moon beast was also known as the weeping moon beast. The rest of the attributes were all question marks. At that moment, Morbius' voice appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. Partner, this chosen spirit has just broken through the barrier of the eternal realm. I haven't reached the step of condensing a life providence. If you want to investigate this favored spirit's data, Yizichen said, I can consume a portion of my origin energy to conduct an investigation that transcends realms. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan hurriedly used his mental energy. He communicated with Morbius. There's no need to consume any origin energy. Once Morbius consumed too much of its origin energy, it would fall asleep. Previously, Morbius had used up some origin energy to help Genius transform its bloodline. If it wasn't necessary, he did not want Morbius to lose any more of its source energy. Although Lin Yuan was the kind of person with a lot of curiosity, he didn't care. However, Lin Yuan's curiosity would never be based on the basis of not letting his partner get hurt. The holy weeping moon beast in the form of a giant moon-white wolf transformed. It turned into a tall, fair-skinned girl. She was wearing a moon-colored fur robe. The huge fur collar on the fur robe was as thick and lush as a wolf's hair. It made Holy Weeping's face look even more petite. Holy Weeping, who had transformed into a human form, bowed to the Moon Empress and said, as the Moon Empress commanded. After speaking, Holy Weeping looked up at Lin Yuan. It revealed a grateful smile at Lin Yuan. For Holy Weeping, Lin Yuan could definitely be called a benefactor. On one hand, Holy Weeping's strength could be improved this time. It all depended on the pure spirit chi that Lin Yuan had left for the Moon Empress. Without that pure spirit chi, it could not be relied on. Holy Weeping did not realize that it had the opportunity to reach this step. It could be said that Holy Weeping's creation. It was created by Lin Yuan and the Moon Empress together. On the other hand, Lin Yuan saved the Mother of Bloodbath. It allowed the Mother of Bloodbath to awaken the favored spirit's bloodline. When the Moon Empress saved the Mother of Bloodbath, not only did he not accept Lin Yuan as a disciple, but he also did not accept Lin Yuan as a disciple. In fact, he didn't even have the intention to accept a disciple. Naturally, he would not think of paving the way for his disciple. Back when the Moon Empress had saved the Mother of Bloodbath, Saint had cried and begged for mercy. Although Holy Weep was a talent. After leaving the Blessed Mansion, he wanted to find another opportunity. He followed the Moon Empress and treated her as his master. However, Sheng Weep still had deep feelings for the Heaven-Blessed Mansion. And in the entire Heaven's Blessed Dojo, he was the most worthy of Holy Cry. It was the one who had carried him back to the Heaven-Blessed Mansion. The elder sister who had taught him, Yu Gui. For the past few days, Xue Shuo, Lan Lian, and Bai Feng had been visiting him every day. They would look for Holy Weep to get together. Holacry learned about this from Blue Lotus. Lin Yuan had the ability to revive Jade Gui's soul. Back then, Saint Weep was the one who got the news. Bai Feng was so excited that she happily collected a jar of tears. Seeing the saint, he could not cry anymore. With Lin Yuan's help, Bai Feng was able to recover. He told Holy Weep about the possibility of Jade Gui's physical body recovering. As a result, Bai Feng collected 2 more jars of tears. Looking at Bai Feng, who was holding his 3 jars of tears with a smirk on her face, Holy Weep was so angry that he directly tore Bai Feng's fishing net clothes. Then, he poured all 3 jars of tears into Bai Feng's mouth. Holy Weep knew very well that his tears contained light and life attribute energy. Bai Feng's body contained the power of night. Bai Feng's body contained the power of night. It was not compatible with his own energy. However, the life energy in the tears was of great benefit to Bai Feng. It was just that the light attribute energy would stimulate Bai Feng's stomach. The 3 jars of tears were poured into Bai Feng's stomach. The final result was that Bai Feng squatted in the toilet of the return from faraway manor every day. Her whole little face was pale. Yu Gui's death was equivalent to losing a trustworthy pillar in his life. At that time, Holy Weep was very sad. Now, Holy Weep was very grateful to Lin Yuan. Holy Weep said softly to Lin Yuan, "Usually, I will transform into Blue Moon in the swamp world. If your highness wants to find me, just call out to the moon. Young lord, if you want to find me, just call out to the moon." Hearing this, Lin Yuan nodded at Holy Weep and said, "Auntie Holy Weep, then I'll have to trouble you." Chapter 1602. When Holy Sob heard how Lin Yuan addressed it, it was slightly startled. Although Holy Weep had lived for more than 1,000 years, it was still a powerful existence. But he had always been a child. Otherwise, he would not have done something like pouring his tears into Bai Feng's stomach. When Holy Weep met the mother of Bloodbath, the mother of Bloodbath's eyes widened. The mother of Bloodbath only addressed him as Senior Holy Weep. Back then, Saint Weep didn't think much of it. He had lived to such an old age. How long had the mother of Bloodbath lived? He was indeed the mother of Bloodbath Senior. Holy Weep was a wolf because of it. He had always been firm and indifferent to his feelings. Saintly Weep's feelings were given to the Jade Gui. Therefore, even though Yu Gui was dead, this kind of feeling did not make Holy Cry pass on to Blood Beginning and the mother of Bloodbath. Hence, Holy Cry didn't really acknowledge the mother of Bloodbath. However, Lin Yuan could revive the Jade Gui. Holy Weep had acknowledged Lin Yuan. Under such circumstances, Lin Yuan called her Auntie Holy Cry. This made Saint Weep suddenly have a feeling in his heart. The feeling that he had grown up. Holy Sob knew very well that the Moon Empress wanted him to stay in the swamp world. What was he thinking in his heart? The Moon Empress wanted to protect Lin Yuan herself. Logically speaking, Saint Weep couldn't reject this favor. Holy Cry decided that as long as Lin Yuan stayed in the swamp world for a day, he would be able to survive. She only had her eyes on Lin Yuan for the entire day. No matter what, she had to ensure Lin Yuan's safety. The Moon Empress raised her eyes and measured the blue moon in the sky. He said to Lin Yuan, "Little Yuan, Master is going to swallow the moon. Just go and do whatever you want." "I'll need about 2 hours," Wang Chong said. The Moon Empress raised her hand. A staff formed from moonlight appeared in the Moon Empress' hand. The top of the staff was inlaid with 2 gems, one white and one red. Lin Yuan took a closer look and found these 2 gems. They were basically 2 miniature moons. Come to think of it, these 2 miniature moons. This was the moon of the main world and the moon of the abyss world that had been refined into a moon puppet. The moonlight-covered staff was clearly not the original appearance of the sacred source lifeform, moon nurturing. Rather, it was because the power of the moon contained within the moon-feeding technique was simply too dense. The surface of his body was covered with a layer of moonlight. Given his current strength, he simply could not see through this layer of moonlight. Nurturing moon's original appearance. However, Lin Yuan could vaguely feel it. Moon-feeding's body shouldn't be a walking stick. Instead, It was something bent into the shape of a cane. This was because he realized that the shape of this cane was very unique. There would be subtle changes at every moment. Immediately after, Lin Yuan saw his master, the Moon Empress. He threw the moon-feeding sword into the sky. The moonlight staff immediately turned into a strand of moonlight silk. It covered the blue moon in the sky above the swamp world. It made the blue moon even more hazy and translucent. Lin Yuan stared at blue moon. He could vaguely make out a winding figure within the blue moon. Was it a snake? In Lin Yuan's opinion, this figure looked like a ghost. The more he looked at it, the more it resembled a snake. Lin Yuan learned from Bai Yang how sacred source lifeforms were formed. A sacred source lifeform could feed on meteorological phenomena. This sacred source lifeform's grade was definitely higher than the other sacred source lifeforms that Lin Yuan knew of. They were all of a higher level. Lin Yuan's sacred source lifeform, the sacred sword-wielding queen. It was a fusion of two sacred source lifeforms. Therefore, he could not effectively classify the sacred sword-wielding queen. However, Lin Yuan felt that the Grace Queen's grade was lower than the moon-feeding sword. Previously, Lin Yuan had attributed the Grace Queen's grade to the moon-feeding sword. A sacred source lifeform formed from a totem that ruled over death. No matter what, the moon-feeding sword had to be a samsara realm ruler, or rather, a dimensional lifeform above the ruler level had died. It had transformed into a sacred source lifeform. Such a sacred source lifeform could descend through a Class 5 dimensional rift. It had been obtained by his master. It could definitely be considered his master's fortuitous encounter. At that moment, the Moon Empress' eyes were closed. Moonlight energy, spirit chi, and spiritual energy surged out of her body. It was as if she had fused with the blue moon in the sky. All of this was shielded by the sacred cry. Even the Medusa demons that were watering the jadeite grapes not far from Lin Yuan could not sense it. They could not sense it. Lin Yuan looked at the blue moon in the swamp world and the moonlight that surged out of the Moon Empress body. They had completely fused together. A bright smile appeared on Lin Yuan's face. The pure spirit chi that he had given the Moon Empress could not be considered a gift in Lin Yuan's eyes. Now, this blue moon in the swamp world. It could definitely be considered a very valuable gift. The Class 6 dimensional rift that the Mother Goddess Federation had opened was the Alien Insect Dimensional Rift. After Bu Po became the Mother Goddess disciple. With Lin Yuan's operation, it was not impossible to enter the Alien Insect world. The Azure Federation's water world, through Yin Lin. There was also a good chance. In the 6-dimensional rifts, there was also a black moon in the underground world. However, for the underground world, this upside-down world, Lin Yuan had not grasped the method yet. No matter what, he had helped his master's sacred source lifeform, the moon-feeding sword, transform into a moonlight short staff. He had gathered all 6 moon gems. It had become one of Lin Yuan's goals. Lin Yuan knew how much the Moon Empress doted on him. Previously, Lin Yuan did not have the ability. Now that he had the ability, Lin Yuan naturally had to repay her. Or rather, he doted on his master. Radiant's royal capital, evening had arrived. Originally, it was dusk, and the fiery clouds in the sky were breathtakingly beautiful. Those who lived in the royal capital would always see such fiery clouds. They were already used to it. However, before the sun had completely set, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. The sky suddenly darkened. Black clouds pressed down on the city, and the wind raged. A thunderstorm washed over the entire capital. At this moment, on the west side of the royal palace, in the guest hall of the Yaoguang Garden, a middle-aged man in a blue robe was listening to the report of the old man next to him. He kept rubbing his temples with his fingers. After a while, the elegant blue-robed man raised his head. He asked the old man beside him suspiciously, "You're saying that our Azure Federation's 4th Azure envoy, Lady Yin Lin? You are already acquainted with the Moon Empress disciple, Lin Yuan, and you even have feelings for him?" The old man nodded solemnly when he heard this. However, just as the old man nodded, he heard an angry shout. "He Chuan, do you think that I, Lan Zun, don't know how to curse?" To put it mildly, You're making something out of nothing. In other words, he's trying to sow discord. You've ruined Lord Yin-lin's reputation. If this gets out, don't say that Lord Yin-lin won't let you off. The Azure Cloud Leopard clan and the entire Azure Federation will not tolerate you. The old man's eyes widened. Making something out of nothing? Sowing discord? I saw it with my own eyes. You didn't see the look in Lord Yin-lin's eyes when he saw the Moon Empress disciple. What I saw was only what happened outside the carriage. Who knows what happened inside the carriage? Chapter 1603. The more the elder thought about it, the more wronged he felt. It was you, Lan Xun, who asked me to follow Lady Yin-lin. How could I not tell you what happened? If word got out, Lady Yin-lin would not let me off. The Azure Clouded Leopard clan and the entire Azure Federation would not tolerate me. What's wrong with me? I'm just telling you what I saw. The wronged elder looked at Lan Xun with a resentful look. But at the same time, the elder knew. Lan Xun had said all this to remind him. Don't say it out loud. The elder was not a fool. As a peak Immortal Realm expert, he was one step away from Eternal Realm. The old man was very clear about his responsibilities. In the next 10 years, before the next Azure Envoy was confirmed, he would always be Lady Yin-lin's protector. For a girl, her reputation was the most important. If Lady Yin-lin liked a prodigy from the Azure Federation, then so be it. The key was that Lady Yin-lin liked the Moon Empress disciple. Regardless of whether Lan Xun believed it or not, the elder was certain. Yin-lin must be interested in the Moon Empress disciple. Otherwise, she would not have looked at the Moon Empress disciple like that. He saw the elder looking at him with a resentful look. Lan Xun felt his fist itch. He waved his hand and said, "Elder Meng, you can go back. Lady Yin-lin said she will be in seclusion for the next few days. You stay here and look after Lady Yin-lin. As for the tour, I'll lead the little guys there." The elder pouted when he heard that Lan Xun wanted him to go back. The elder could only follow Lan Xun's instructions. After the elder left, Lan Xun's brows furrowed tightly. Lan Xun knew that Elder Meng's words were exaggerated. But it was definitely not something that came out of nowhere. Regarding Yin-lin, he could not have said it blindly. It was very likely that what Elder Meng had said was the truth. Lan Xun was very clear about Yin-lin's background. Lan Xun felt that it was impossible for Yin-lin to have known Lin Yuan. But if that was the case, why was Yin-lin so familiar with the Moon Empress disciple? Could it be that the sacred source lifeform that the Moon Empress disciple contracted had charming abilities? No. Lady Yin-lin contracting 2 sacred source lifeforms was a secret of the Azure Federation. There was a second sacred source lifeform. Yin-lin, who had 2 sacred source lifeforms, could not be controlled by her peers. The more Lan Xun thought about it, the more clueless he became. It wasn't good to ask Yin-lin face to face. Yin-lin and the Moon Empress disciple had a secret discussion. Elder Meng sensed along the way. No one from the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission had inquired about all this. Presumably, the people from the Freedom Federation hadn't heard the news yet. If the Moon Empress disciple invited Yin-lin to the Fey carriage, what could they talk about? It must be related to the Radiance 100 sequence selection that would take place in a few days. Originally, when Lan Xun saw that Yin-lin had refused to cooperate with the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission, he thought that Yin-lin didn't want to get involved in this mess. But from the looks of it, Yin-lin's intentions might not be as simple as that. Was it possible that Lady Yin-lin, from the very beginning, are they already leaning toward the Radiance Federation? The Azure Federation had always been neutral. He had cooperated with the Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation. But when the Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation truly wrestled with each other, it was impossible for the Azure Federation to remain unscathed. The Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation would force the Azure Federation to make a choice. Who should he lean towards? Between the 12 great Azure families, they hadn't been able to come up with a consensus. The purpose of this trip to the Radiance Federation was to announce Lady Yin-lin becoming the 4th Azure Envoy to the world. The number 1 figure in the entire Azure Federation's diplomatic mission was Yin-lin, the Azure Envoy. As Yin Lin's teacher, he was just accompanying her. Therefore, no matter what Yin Lin thought or what decision she made, she could represent the will of the entire Azure Federation's diplomatic mission. Lan Xun didn't intend to consider too much. Anyway, he just had to ensure Lady Yin Lin's safety. Lan Xun was very confident about this. After the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission arrived at the Radiance Federation, they didn't stay in the Radiance Federation's Feather Light Palace that was specially arranged for the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission. Instead, they stayed in a newly purchased courtyard on the Gushing Rock Mountain. It could be said that the Freedom Federation's start. It was obvious that they didn't trust the Radiance Federation. The Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission might have come to the Radiance Federation with a special purpose. However, they were also very afraid that the Radiance Federation would do something to the Featherlight Palace. At that moment, in the Gushing Rock Mountain's courtyard, they held up a powerful position. This position firmly enveloped the entire Gushing Rock Mountain. At that moment, inside the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission, there was also a meeting going on. Holding up this barrier would make the contents of the meeting clear. The Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission definitely didn't want outsiders to know. Chen Yu was the Freedom Envoy of the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission on the surface. He sat on the main seat in the courtyard. 3 elders stood beside him. Yang Ling, Yu Changjian, and Cai Hua sat below Chen Yu respectively. The rest of the independent 100-sequence geniuses stood in place with their heads lowered. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. This was the Freedom Federation's internal meeting. These independent 100-sequence members didn't even have the qualifications to speak. Yang Ling looked at her fingers and said, "Big brother Chen, I think you're making a mountain out of a molehill. How strong can the new Radiance 100-sequence members on the Radiance Federation's side be? How strong can the new Radiance 100-sequence members on the Radiance side be? Long Sword and Ah Ho don't even need to fight." After hearing Yang Ling's words, Chen Yu's face suddenly darkened. Chen Yu's face sank when he heard Yang Ling's words. "Yang Ling, if you continue to be so arrogant. After we return, I will report this matter truthfully to Her Holiness. After we return, I will report this matter truthfully to Her Holiness. This time, the 3 of you know why we're here. If it's just to kill the 10 new Radiance 100-sequence members, any one of you can make a move. Apart from the 3 of you, Yu Hairun might be a better choice. The 3 of you will make a move together. It's because your sacred source lifeforms can cooperate with each other. If your arrogance spoils this time's goal and affects Her Holiness' subsequent plans against the current Radiance envoys, after you return to the Freedom Federation, you will have to bear the consequences yourself." After hearing Chen Yu's words, Yang Ling's face turned cold. She still felt that she was strong enough. However, she didn't dare to show it anymore. Compared to Yu Changjian and Cai Hua, Yang Ling had always been arrogant. This was because Yang Ling was favored by the 3 Holiness in the Freedom Federation. As for Cai Hua and Yu Changjian, there were only 2 of them. However, Yang Ling couldn't be truly worry-free. If she really messed things up in the Radiance Federation this time, after Chen Yu returned, he would report this matter to Her Holiness in the Freedom Temple. Chapter 1604. He was 100% sure that he would be questioned by the Majesties. There was even a possibility of punishment. In the Freedom Federation, he wanted to become a Freedom Envoy. This was a very difficult thing to do. Yang Ling, Cai Hua, and Yu Changjian were confident. It came from the 3 sacred source lifeforms' ability to complement each other. The 3 of them together were definitely more valuable than the other 3 alone. Every Majesty of the Freedom Federation would never only care for a single member of the younger generation. For example, Du Miao, who favored the younger generation the most, favored a total of 6 people. Yang Ling knew that she was very important. But he didn't feel like he couldn't be replaced. Yang Ling admitted defeat. "Big brother Chen, I looked down on the younger generation of Radiance. This time, Big brother Chen is the leader of the envoy group. If there's anything, the 3 of us will listen to Big brother Chen." Yu Changjian and Cai Hua were displeased by Yang Ling's words. Along the way, Chen Yu had always wanted to grasp the absolute right to speak. But in fact, The three of them were His Majesty's caretakers. At the same time, he had quite a bit of authority. In some matters, if their wishes were right, they would not be able to do so. Even if this matter was against Chen Yu's opinion. Chen Yu also needed to make a corresponding compromise. But now, because of Chen Yu's words, Yang Ling actually became angry. He directly spoke up, giving the authority of the three of them to Chen Yu. This time, he would be able to kill as many of Hui Yao's disciples as possible. The more Radiance envoys were weakened, the more comprehensive strength the next Radiance envoy would have. The more contributions they made, the greater the contribution. Chen Yu was an extremely selfish person who placed his own interests above everything else. In this duel, they were going to hunt down the younger generation of Hui Yao. However, if Hui Yao's younger generation was stronger than him, in that case, he and the others would also become prey. Therefore, he had the right to speak in this aspect. He had to stay on his side. Cai Hua spoke first. Big Brother Chen, I heard that among the younger generation of the Radiant sect, there is a person called Black who is extremely powerful. On our way here, we saw a lot of people imitating Black on the street. Although we haven't gotten any information yet, it's hard to believe that a person can be praised to such an extent. Black is definitely at the peak of the younger generation. I suggest that Black be treated as an opponent on the same level as His Majesty's disciple. Black has always been wearing a mask. It's highly possible that he really is a disciple of His Holiness. That's why I suggest that we only drag one of Her Holiness's disciples into the water during the duel. In this battle, we will eliminate Black and one of His Holiness's disciples, as well as the 9 members of the Federation of Radiance's 100 sequence. We have completed His Majesty's mission. When Yu Changjian saw Cai Hua, he said what he wanted to say. He didn't say anything more. If Chen Yu had a different opinion later, then, he stood up for Cai Hua. It was much better than agreeing with them now. When Chen Yu heard Cai Hua's words, he felt that Yang Ling, Yu Changjian, and Cai Hua were a team. It was quite interesting. Yang Ling was arrogant, Cai Hua was conservative, and Changjian liked to retreat. As long as his teammates could stand up for him, he would never stand up for himself. The three of them were a flawed team. But they could complement each other perfectly. Chen Yu did not intend to do as Cai Hua said. Black was regarded as a disciple of His Holiness Hui Yao, but the Holiness in the Temple of Liberty would not agree. Wouldn't this be a wasted trip? He would also be laughed at by the other 4 messengers. Therefore, Chen Yu decided. He had to do something big. However, Chen Yu wasn't in a hurry to reveal his plans. Instead, he changed the topic and said, I just received news today that His Holiness Cicada Cry of Hui Yao has accepted a new disciple. This disciple is a support class spirit chi professional called Gao Feng. I will participate in the Radiance 100 sequence selection. Chen Yu paused for a moment before continuing. Cicada Cry's disciple Gao Feng is a pure support. I think we can consider him and Black as one of Her Holiness's disciples. Yang Ling, what do you think? Chen Yu knew the arrogant Yang Ling at this moment. He would definitely agree with his point of view. Sure enough, Yang Ling heard Chen Yu's words. He said directly, if there aren't 2 or more main attackers, pure support is completely useless. Treating Gao Feng and Black as disciples of His Majesty is already overestimating them. Hearing Yang Ling's words, Chen Yu looked at Cai Hua. Cai Hua's expression darkened. It just so happened that Cai Hua was a pure support spirit chi professional. It was the same as Gao Feng's. At this moment, Yu Changjian could not hold it in anymore and said, if that's the case, then we'll plan to call for the next disciple. Won't we have to face 2 disciples of His Majesty and an unknown Black at the same time? Chen Yu shook his head and replied, not 2, but 4. Hearing Chen Yu's words, even the arrogant Yang Ling's expression darkened. There were only 3 of them, and they had to fight 4 disciples of Her Majesty. There were only 3 of them, yet they were going to fight Hui Yao's 4 disciples. Just as the 3 of them were about to oppose, they heard Chen Yu say, you said that I'm 28 years old this year, the youngest among the previous Freedom Envoys. Using me to fight in exchange for 3 disciples of Her Majesty, Do you think the Radiant sect will agree? Hearing Chen Yu's words, Yang Ling, Yu Chongjian, and Cai Hua were suddenly enlightened. Upon hearing Chen Yu's words, Yang Ling, Yu Chongjian, and Cai Hua were enlightened. The three of them were hidden among the independent 100 sequence members. The Radiant sect could not possibly know their identities. The Radiant's 100 sequence already had a disciple of Her Majesty. There was already one disciple of Her Majesty in the Radiant's 100 sequence. Then, the three of them would fight Chen Yu. For the sake of their reputation, it was impossible for the Radiant's 100 sequence to disagree. Chen Yu's current age was still within the range of the Radiant's 100 sequence. By then, there would be 4 disciples of Her Majesty and Black, who was famous in the Radiant's 100 sequence. If the 5 of them were to be killed, the Radiant sect's younger generation would suffer a heavy blow. After returning, the 3 of them would be recognized as the next freedom envoys. It was basically a done deal. Furthermore, Chen Yu would personally fight. It was impossible for him not to find a way out for himself. Chen Yu was the youngest freedom envoy in the Freedom Federation. He would definitely cherish his life. At the thought of this, Yang Ling, Yu Chongjian, and Cai Hua nodded. Let's do as Big Brother Chen Yu says. Yu Chongjian thought for a moment and said, Big Brother Chen Yu, let's do it. Big Brother Chen, if you are rejected by the Radiant sect, my bottom line is still to call for another disciple of Her Majesty. I think I won't fight more than this number. I'm sure Her Majesty, who cares for me, will be able to understand. Chen Yu did not say anything. On the other hand, the 3 elders beside Chen Yu only felt mentally exhausted. Chen Yu had pulled the 3 of them and made such a big deal. All the pressure before returning to the Freedom Federation would probably be on the 3 of them. No way. They had to report to the Temple of Liberty. They had to let a Lord Her Majesty come to the Radiant sect to be safe. Instant update of Beast Evolution Quotient. Please bookmark this site so that you can read it online the next time there's an update. Starting to update the mobile version of Do 5. Chapter 1605. In the swamp world, it had always been daytime. The sky would never be completely dark. Actually, it wasn't accurate to say it that way. According to his observations, the swamp world also had day and night. It was daytime in the swamp world, and the sky was green. At night, the sky will turn light purple. The sun and the moon hung in the sky at the same time. However, compared to the daytime, the cyan moon in the swamp world, in the light purple sky, it would be more conspicuous. The creatures in the swamp world did not sense it at all. At this moment, the Moon Empress in the sky had already disappeared. What replaced it was the original energy of the moon. The holy weeping moon beast had already transformed into a moon and was gathering the azure moon energy within the swamp world to conceal itself. He was prepared to firmly guard Lin Yuan in the swamp world. The pale blue moon seemed a little brighter than usual. Moonlight sprinkled down, and the wisps of moonlight intertwined with each other. In the Moon Empress' hand, a moonlight short staff was formed. Originally, there were only 2 round moon gems on the short staff, 1 white and 1 red. Now, there was another cyan full moon gem. This green, round moon gem was proof of the Moon Empress' sacred source lifeform, Feed the Moon. He had mastered another moon who. At that moment, the Moon Empress opened her eyes. He smiled faintly at Lin Yuan. Little Yuan, Master thanks you for giving Master this fortuitous encounter. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan quickly replied. Master, you don't have to thank me. Master has saved my life many times. If you really want to say thank you, Master, and I will never be able to finish it. The Moon Empress wasn't the kind of person who would easily thank others. He had never said a word of thanks in his entire life. To Lin Yuan, it was because he had really changed the Moon Empress too much. Having an infinite lifespan was just 1 point. With pure spiritual chi, crossing that step was just 1 point. Getting the 3rd moon avatar was still 1 point. The Moon Empress asked herself about these 3 points. It was impossible for him to obtain it by himself. However, Lin Yuan was right. Saying thanks to his own disciple was really treating him like an outsider. At that moment, the Moon Empress heard Lin Yuan's voice. Master, The density of the spiritual chi I prepared has increased again. Apart from that, I can also produce elemental energy that is purer than heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. I've already collected more than 1,000 soul forest peonies. Now is the time. I'll give these over 1,000 spirit-containing peonies to my master. As he spoke, he handed a diamond fey storage box to the Moon Empress. The Moon Empress took the diamond fey storage box from Lin Yuan. She suddenly felt that she was with Lin Yuan. Why did it seem as though Lin Yuan had become his master? Where did Lin Yuan get so many good things? It could produce purer elemental energy than heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls. He could already use this ability. It was to define the standard of a Class 6 creation master. In the end, the Moon Empress didn't stand on ceremony. This was because the pure spirit chi could indeed allow the Moon Empress to do many things. Xian Yu had already reached that level. As long as there was pure spirit chi, Tsungyue would be able to do it. He had taken that final step. During this time, the Moon Empress had learned about Chu Xi's talent from Cold Moon. It could be said that Chu Xi's talent had surprised the Moon Empress. Many of them had become B-rank spirit chi professionals at the age of 16. Although the speed of breaking through to spirit chi professionals was faster than ordinary spirit chi professionals, it could not be considered a standard to measure strength. This was because ordinary spirit chi professionals had limited resources. The strength of Fays would never reach the limit of their spirit chi professional rank. However, Chu Xi was completely different. Chu Xi was in a situation where she had a massive amount of resources. As long as the spirit chi professional's rank increased, the strength of the Fays would immediately increase. Cold Moon performed the rolling tear on Chu Xi. It could be said that Chu Xi's current strength. She was already not inferior to most of the 100 sequence members. In another year, Chu Xi would come to the royal capital to study at the Advanced Spirit Chi University. She would then be able to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence selection. Originally, Chu Xi had wanted to jump the queue and register for the Radiance 100 sequence selection. She would become a 100 sequence member with Lin Yuan. However, Kang Yu had directly rejected him. Cold Moon did not want Chu Xi to be at such a young age. She would be involved in the dispute between the Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation. Lin Yuan would be involved in this matter alone. Cold Moon was already worried. She really couldn't bear to let Chu Xi get involved again. On the other hand, Kang Yu felt that if Chu Xi really participated in the Radiance 100 sequence selection, she would not be able to do so. He really couldn't explain to Lin Yuan. According to Kang Yu's prediction, no matter how slow Chu Xi was, she wouldn't be able to catch up. 5 years before the age of 21. He could also become an A-rank spirit chi professional. At that time, she would be able to possess a myth-breed Fae. Kang Yu had never had any expectations for Chu Xi. But now, Tsungyue felt that Chu Xi might have the ability to do so in 2 years. To participate in the selection of the Radiance Envoy. At the very least, he could become a member of the Radiant Light Knights. However, after thinking about it, Kang Yu finally decided not to let Chu Xi go 2 years later. To get involved in this muddy water. 10 years later, Chu Xi was 26 years old. At that time, it would not be too late to run for the Radiance Envoy position. Directly becoming a Radiance Envoy was much better than becoming a member of the Radiance Light Knights. She could dedicate her entire life to the Moon Empress and Hui Yao. However, Kang Yu only hoped that Chu Xi could live a worry-free life. The Moon Empress took the diamond Fey storage box that Lin Yuan handed over and said, "That's right. Little Yuan, let's go back." At this time, Kang Yu and Little Ci should have already returned to the Radiant Moon Palace. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan took out the treasured artifact made of the treasure cave golden toad's skin and stomach sac. He stored the Moon Empress in it. Then, he returned to the Spirit Lock spatial zone through the Klein hub. Finally, he stepped out of the Spirit Lock spatial zone and returned to the breeding room. In the breeding room, Lin Yuan immediately released his master, the Moon Empress. She watched as he returned to the Radiant Moon Palace in a moment. The Moon Empress was increasingly curious about Lin Yuan's methods. However, Curiosity was just curiosity. Not only would the Moon Empress not investigate Lin Yuan's methods. Instead, she could help Lin Yuan keep his secrets. Just as he pushed open the breeding room's door, Lin Yuan saw Chu Ci standing at the door, obviously waiting for him to come out. The moment she saw Lin Yuan, Chu Ci's face revealed a pure smile. She opened her arms. Upon seeing this, Lin Yuan quickly stepped forward and hugged Chu Ci. Then, he carried Chu Ci and gently spun her around. Lin Yuan realized that Chu Ci had grown a lot taller. Previously, Chu Ci's height only reached his shoulder. Now, it was up to his face. At the same time, Chu Ci seemed to have become a little lighter. Lin Yuan immediately frowned and asked Chu Ci, "Chu Ci, have you developed the habit of being picky recently? Since you were young, I've told you to eat a little of everything. Don't be picky. Since you were young, I've told you to eat a little of everything. Don't be picky." Chapter 1606. Chu Ci pouted when she heard that. She thought to herself, "I'm not a picky eater, I was just immature when I was young. Whenever I saw food, I would want to eat more. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to eat it anymore." Chu Ci had learned to control her eating. The Moon Empress looked at Lin Yuan with her mouth agape. Lin Yuan was a smart person, but why was he so straight sometimes? Girls grew up and understood beauty and ugliness. Naturally, she would control her weight. However, Chu Ci did look a little thinner than she had before. The Moon Empress reached out and stroked the hair on Chu Ci's head. "I'm going to help Cold Moon and Mystic Moon prepare dinner. You two siblings must have a lot of secrets to tell each other." The Moon Empress turned around and left the breeding room. Previously, the Moon Empress only had 3 years left in her lifespan. Mystic Moon learned about it from the cicada. If not for the cicada, Mystic Moon would not have known about it. Mystic Moon would not have known about it. Mystic Moon did not want to tell Cold Moon about it. However, as one of the Moon Envoys, Cold Moon should know about it. Fortunately, the Moon Empress was out of danger and was on the right track. Mystic Moon said to Cold Moon solemnly, "Cold Moon, when you called me last month, you asked me why I was in low spirits for a period of time. I didn't tell you then. I'll tell you why now. 10 years ago, the Moon Empress injured her foundation during a battle. She only has 3 years left in her lifespan." Cold Moon was processing the golden silk blood jujubes. She was preparing some jujubes for Chu Ci to drink at night. Upon hearing that, Cold Moon's eyes turned blood red. It was as if layers of blood scabs had congealed in her eyes. Mystic Moon hurriedly said. Fortunately, the young lord helped the Moon Empress find a way out. Now, the Moon Empress is fine. It was a blessing in disguise, and her strength has increased. Upon hearing that, Cold Moon's eyes turned blood red. It did not subside. Cold Moon picked up the jujubes and threw it at Mystic Moon. "Can you stop gasping for air when talking about this kind of thing? Can't you tell me the result first?" Seeing this, Xian Yu immediately dodged backward. He thought to himself. When he was speaking, he did pause for a while. But that was because he had seen Kang Yu's eyes turn red. "I was worried about Kang Yu's condition, so I didn't have time to tell her." Little White Rabbit witnessed everything from the side. He chewed on the carrot leisurely as he thought to himself. Given Kang Yu's feelings for the Moon Empress, the worry in her heart would not be vented on Xian Yu. This matter was definitely not over. Coincidentally, the Moon Empress walked over. When Kang Yu saw the moon, she pushed it away. He came to the Moon Empress side and asked, "Moon Empress, you..." When the Moon Empress saw Cold Moon's expression, she knew it was Mystic Moon. He told Kang Yu about it. The Moon Empress did not intend to hide this matter from Kang Yu. The Moon Empress knew that Kang Yu wouldn't want her to hide anything. Xian Yu obviously knew about it, but he didn't know anything at all. However, the Moon Empress had originally planned to do it tonight. He invited Kang Yu to look at the night sky, and then he would personally tell Kang Yu. The Moon Empress shook her head as she looked at the worried Cold Moon. "I'm fine now. Cold Moon, I'm going to attend the Imperial Court Council in the next 2 days. I'll let Mystic Moon help you break through." After hearing the Moon Empress' words, Cold Moon was worried and surprised. Moon Empress, I want to break through. Spirit Chi. Before Cold Moon could finish, Mystic Moon had already spoken. My strength has broken through. If I want to break through, I definitely need more pure Spirit Chi than those phase of yours. Hearing this, Kang Yu suddenly remembered. When she sparred with Mystic Moon previously, Mystic Moon could easily dodge the jade pestle in her hand every time. Cold Moon immediately asked the Moon Empress in surprise. Moon Empress, your creation master strength has improved again. The Moon Empress pondered for a moment and did not deny it. In the Moon Empress' opinion, this pure Spirit Chi was also a trump card for Lin Yuan. Such a matter could not be left unattended. It was better for one less person to know. The Moon Empress personally started to prepare dinner. Cold Moon and Mystic Moon helped at the side. He watched helplessly as the Moon Empress stewed the creation breed phase dragon tendon in the stew pot. Lin Yuan had been chatting with Chu Ci for a while. He heard Chu Ci happily say that her strength had increased to that of a B-rank Spirit Chi professional. Lin Yuan did not dare to believe his ears. He was only a B-rank Spirit Chi professional now. Chu Ci, who was 2 years younger than him, had actually caught up to him. At that moment, Chu Ci continued to speak. Lin Yuan, Master has upgraded both of my fantasy breed phase to Diamond X. The Burning Sunflower twins, Master told me not to raise their grades first. After comprehending the willpower rune and letting the Burning Sunflower twins become fantasy breeds, I will raise their grades. It's just that I have not comprehended a suitable willpower rune for the Burning Sunflower twins. At this point, Chu Ci's face did not show any signs of frustration. She was very clear about her progress during this period. After all, she knew very well how much she had improved during this period of time. She waved her hand, and a white crystal-like willpower rune appeared. With a wave of her hand, a white crystal-like willpower rune appeared. It shot out from Chu Ci's spiritual spatial zone. It revolved around Chu Ci's fingers. Lin Yuan did not expect Chu Ci to comprehend another willpower rune. Lin Yuan immediately sensed the willpower rune in Chu Ci's palm. Under his perception, Lin Yuan found this crystal-like willpower rune. It was the same willpower rune that Chu Ci had comprehended from steel when she had fused it with the obsidian iron wild bull. They had the same effect through different means. Obviously, they were very suitable for defense-type phase. The moment he probed this willpower rune, Lin Yuan thought of the tool transformation pimple crystal muscle that he had prepared for Chu Ci. It could be said that this crystal-like willpower rune was suitable for defense-type phase. It was very compatible with the pimple crystal muscle. It was simply a willpower rune tailor-made for the pimple crystal muscle. At present, Chu Ci had comprehended 3 willpower runes. This kind of perception of willpower runes was really amazing. Lin Yuan had always felt that. He had such a strong perception thanks to the souls of 2 lifetimes in his body. But now it seemed that it was not just that. Through Chu Ci's perception of willpower runes, his parents' genes should be very outstanding. He had such a strong perception of willpower runes. It definitely had a lot to do with genes. He did not immediately take out the acne crystal muscle and let Chu Ci contract it. Instead, he said to Chu Ci, "Come, summon the Diamond X Fantasy Obsidian Iron Wild Bull and Yellow Jadeite Golden Butterfly." Chapter 1607. The Obsidian Iron Wild Bull and the Yellow Jadeite Golden Butterfly could be said to be the phase that Lin Yuan had created. When the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull was still a sharp rock bull. Due to the sudden opening of the alien insect dimensional rift, he was severely injured. At the time, Yang Mingkai had been helpless against the heavily injured Obsidian Iron Wild Bull. He had almost treated the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull as a meat cow. It was Lin Yuan who had discovered the Obsidian Iron Wild Bull's elite skill, sacrifice, and saved it. It also gave her a chance to change her fate. Otherwise, Lin Yuan, who had just discovered his body's peculiarity, would not have been able to do so. He wanted to raise a large sum of money in a short time. It was truly difficult to buy a high-quality bronze fei for Chu Ci. He had also obtained the Yellow Jadeite Golden Butterfly from Liu Jie. He had gotten it when he traded for the cocoons. At that time, Liu Jie was disheartened by the insect queen's death. He had lost the opportunity to become a spirit chi professional. He wore a mask and concealed his identity. Occasionally, he would rely on the insect queen's ability to go up the mountain to collect some spiritual materials. In addition to providing for himself, he also provided for many homeless children. For the education of these children, he had obtained the yellow jadeite golden butterfly from Liu Jie. And it was just a dust butterfly in a cocoon. It evolved from a dust butterfly to a Vajra butterfly. Then, it was induced by the pollen of the golden peony and pure spiritual energy. This caused the evolution path of the jade butterfly to mutate. As it turned out, the yellow jadeite golden butterfly was of the gold attribute. It was more suitable for Chu Ci than the wood attribute jadeite butterfly. The metal elemental yellow jadeite golden butterfly had a stronger defense than the wood elemental jadeite butterfly. Also more aggressive. However, it did not mean that there were no drawbacks at all. Compared with the jadeite jade butterfly, the yellow jadeite golden butterfly had a disadvantage. Was it like the jadeite butterfly, which had a certain supporting effect? According to what Chu Ci had just said, the yellow jadeite golden butterfly had already evolved to the diamond rank. If that was the case, it must be the bloodline of the yellow jadeite golden butterfly. It should have evolved. He didn't know that the yellow jadeite golden butterfly was in the process of evolving into the tourmaline emperor butterfly. Could the yellow jadeite golden butterfly retain the golden petal peony pollen to bring about the mutation? Under Kang Yu's tutelage, Chu Ci learned a lot. He was getting more and more aware of how important privacy was to a spirit chi professional. If his phase information was leaked, the opponent just happened to counter the phase characteristics. Even if the enemy's overall strength was inferior to his own. It was also very likely that the boat would capsize in the gutter. If someone else wanted to see Chu Ci's Fae, they wouldn't be able to do so. Chu Ci would never casually summon a Fae. However, she was not the slightest bit wary of Lin Yuan. She was known as the Radiance's youngest genius on the star web. However, she knew that all this glory had been brought to her by Lin Yuan. Chu Ci would never forget it. Back then, he had been so dizzy that he couldn't even stand up. He still brought his own livelihood with him. In the beginning, when the two of them depended on each other, the family was so poor that they only had a bowl of porridge left. Lin Yuan left this bowl of porridge for himself. In the middle of the night, he would secretly nibble on the usnea vine's leaves like a herbivorous fae. The usnea was not as mild as the army ration radish. Even ordinary people could eat it. Usnea leaves were very stimulating to the stomach. When spirit chi professionals ate it, their stomachs would be in unbearable pain. It was unlike herbivorous faes that had a strong resistance to usnea leaves. Therefore, no matter what happened, he would always be her most important person. Chu Ci immediately waved her hand and summoned her two faes. Immediately, Lin Yuan saw a sturdy bull with a body length of 5 meters and a height of 2.5 meters. It appeared next to Chu Ci. The bull's entire body had a mirror-like silver sheen. Through this layer of skin, one could see the bull's body. Explosive streamlined muscles. Lin Yuan had seen so many faes. Even a tiger species fae could not compare to this bull species fae in terms of strength and beauty. The bull tail, which was nearly 1 meter long, gently swung behind it. The swinging bull tail dragged a series of sonic booms in the air. At that moment, Lin Yuan saw Chu Ci stand on her tiptoes. She reached out to touch the huge bull's cheek and said, "Little iron lump. I know you're happy to see Lin Yuan. But how many times have I told you not to always swing your tail when you're happy? Don't learn from those stinky hippos. If I didn't know better, I would think you're farting." Upon hearing that, the obsidian iron wild bull mooed twice. It seemed to be responding to Chu Ci. Then, it obediently put down its tail. The bull looked at Lin Yuan, full of joy. Lin Yuan pursed his lips when he heard Chu Ci address the obsidian iron wild bull. "This is a little iron lump. This is simply a bull-shaped dump truck." The obsidian iron wild bull had turned silver. It was obvious that its bloodline had evolved. It should be called Little Silver Nugget. For the obsidian iron wild bull, the changes to its skin were among the other changes. It could barely be considered third. The obsidian iron wild bull's silver bull body was inlaid with clusters of black gems. Under the illumination of the light, the black gems emitted a multicolored light. This color was the same as the original skin color of the obsidian iron wild bull. They were all multicolored black. Come to think of it, the obsidian iron wild bull must have gathered the energy of its original bloodline. It must have gathered in these clusters of crystals. The obsidian iron wild bull's body changed the most. The obsidian iron wild bull's horns. Originally, the obsidian iron wild bull's horns were in an elemental state. The bull's entire head was clearly not connected to its body by horns. However, pitch-black sharp horns would constantly appear around the obsidian iron wild bull's head. Each time it appeared, the shape would be different. In battle, the obsidian iron wild bull could make the most suitable choice for the battle. Depending on the fey it was facing, it could produce the most suitable horns for battle or sneak attack. It was clearly just charging forward. However, it could use the changes in its horns to effectively and accurately attack the enemy. If another cow species fey wanted to collide with the hornless obsidian iron wild bull, the only outcome would be when the collision was about to occur. The horns suddenly drilled out from the sides of the obsidian iron wild bull's eyes. They pierced through the cow fey's eyes and penetrated its skull. They also stopped the fey that was about to collide with the obsidian iron wild bull. Just by relying on the elemental horns, the obsidian iron wild bull was able to kill. The obsidian iron wild bull's elemental horns were definitely a killing weapon among defense-type feys. Now, Lin Yuan realized that the obsidian iron wild bull's elemental horns, most of them were silver. Only a small portion was black. Occasionally, there would be a mixture of black and silver. Some of the horns were plated with a layer of black on top of the silver. Some were plated with a layer of silver on top of the black. It was obvious that the obsidian iron wild bull's bloodline had evolved. It could use the power of its bloodline very flexibly. Lin Yuan immediately used Morbius True Data to investigate the obsidian iron wild bull.